Our Lord Jesus Christ, on the night before he died, said to his apostles, "But now he that hath a purse, let him take it, and likewise a scrip. And he that hath not, let him sell his coat and buy a sword." That's from Luke chapter 22, verse 36. It's not a metaphor. It's not a spiritual allegory about the interior conflict. A direct instruction to men who are about to be sent into a hostile world. Go armed. I want to sit with that for a moment, because a new encyclical has just been issued from Rome. Magnifica Humanitas. And among its many remarkable claims is this: that the traditional just war doctrine of the Catholic Church is, and I'm reading directly from the document, now outdated. Outdated. Christ told his men to sell their cloaks and buy swords. And 19 centuries of Catholic moral theology built upon that foundation, upon Augustine, upon Aquinas, upon the natural law written in every human conscience. And Leo XIV has decided that this is outdated. We need to talk about that. We need to talk about what that means, where it leads, and why it matters enormously to every baptized person watching this today, because this is not an abstract argument about medieval military strategy. This is a question about whether the church you were baptized into still believes what she has always taught, or whether something else is now speaking in her name. Before we get to the history, let us get to the philosophy, because the pacifist impulse in Magnifica Humanitas is not just bad theology, it's bad reasoning. Aristotle, writing 4 centuries before the Incarnation, understood something the post-conciliar mind has apparently forgotten. In the Nicomachean Ethics, he identifies courage as the mean between two vices: cowardice on one side and recklessness on the other. The courageous man is not the man who never fights. He is the man who fights when fighting is what the situation demands, and who does so without either fleeing in fear or charging in without judgment. Courage is the virtue ordered to just action under threat. In the Politics, Aristotle goes further. He recognizes the political community requires the capacity for defense. A community that cannot protect itself from aggression is not a community for long. It is a population waiting to be absorbed, enslaved, replaced, or destroyed. This is not a Christian insight specifically. It is a natural law insight. It belongs to the order of creation, available to unaided human reason. The church did not invent just war theory. She received it from the natural law, baptized it, and refined it through centuries of careful moral theology. St. Thomas Aquinas, drawing on exactly this Aristotelian foundation, gave us the classic framework. A just war requires a just cause, right intention, legitimate authority, and proportionate means. It's not a blank check for violence, a rigorous set of conditions that actually limit and constrain the use of force. This is a more sophisticated moral framework than anything the encyclical proposes as its replacement. And what does the encyclical propose instead? Dialogue. Oh my goodness, barf on a spoon. Diplomacy. Multilateral institutions like the United Nations. Oh, of course, he won't have anything to do with the Board of Peace, but instead we'll have every nation represent countries that promote forced slavery, that used prison camps, that oppress various groups, various minorities and various oppressed groups in their nations, and yet are on human rights councils. And this is the authority that Leo refers to. Aristotle would have recognized that answer for what it is, that attitude for what it is. It's a counsel of cowardice dressed in the language of virtue. Now let's open the Bible. Because if just war doctrine is outdated, someone needs to explain the book of Joshua. Someone who supports Leo XIV should get on these comments and you explain to me how the God of Leo could have ordered what was ordered in the book of Joshua. God himself commanded the conquest of Canaan. He commanded it. He appointed Joshua to lead it. He drowned the Egyptian army in the Red Sea to protect his people. He gave victory at Jericho. He commanded the utter destruction of peoples who had given themselves over to practices so depraved that the land itself, in the language of Leviticus, vomited them out. The God of Magnifica Humanitas is a God of dialogue and multilateral institutions, the God of synodality. The God of Joshua is the Lord of hosts. These are not supposed to be two different gods. They are the same God. And the apparent tension between them is resolved not by discarding the Old Testament, but by understanding the fullness of Revelation. Force under proper authority for just ends, protecting the innocent. Indeed, there's a duty to protect the innocent. A father who allows his child to be attacked and defiled while he has access to a means of their defense and refuses to because he's a pacifist, fails his baptismal duty. If you fail to punish grave evil and protect the innocent, that's a violation of your duty as a Catholic or Christian man. Sometimes the use of force is an instrument willed by God. The books of Maccabees. And again, not every Christian community accepts these as their deuterocanonical, but they are fully received by the Catholic Church. Record the armed resistance of Judas Maccabeus and his brothers against the Seleucid desecration of the temple. They fought. They died fighting. And the church has always honored them as models of fidelity under persecution. The alternative to their resistance was not peace. It was apostasy at sword point. And this is the pattern Scripture establishes from the beginning. There is a time for peace and a time for war, as Ecclesiastes reminds us. And confusing the two is not holiness. It's confusion. Now let us look at what the church has actually done, because doctrine and practice belong together. Constantine, Clovis, two men who understood that Christian civilization does not build itself in a vacuum. Constantine ended the persecution of the church not through dialogue with Diocletian's successors, but through military victory at the Milvian Bridge, fighting under the sign of the cross. Clovis, the Frank, was baptized in 496 and immediately became the sword arm of Catholic Christianity in the Western Europe. If there's an interest, Felix and I will do a full episode on both of them. Just put it in the comments, because each one deserves a proper treatment. They're part of our history. We're so quick to forget our history. And let's not even open the big can of whoop that St. James Matamoros would bring us today. The church did not rebuke these men. She received them. She honors them. The Eastern Church regards Constantine as a great saint. Now, Joshua we've already named. And the point bears repeating that God commanded what the events in the book of Joshua. If Leo XIV's framework is correct, God was teaching outdated doctrine in the book of Joshua. And I leave that conclusion for you to evaluate. But you'll recall, because we mentioned it in several episodes, there's the God of Athanasius and the God of Teilhard de Chardin. And Teilhard is all about outdated and evolution in doctrine. Now let me bring you to another point in history. Lepanto, October 7th, 1571. The Ottoman fleet, the most powerful naval force the world has ever seen, moved to complete its domination of the Mediterranean. What stopped it was not a diplomatic note from the Holy See. It was a dialogue. It was Don Juan of Austria, commanding a Christian fleet assembled at the direct initiative of Pope St. Pius V, who ordered the rosary prayed throughout Christendom for the victory of Christian arms. The fleet was blessed. The battle was joined. The Ottoman advance was broken. St. Pius V credited the victory to Our Lady. The feast of Our Lady of Victory, Our Lady of the Rosary, exists on the day that it does because of what happened at Lepanto. The Church did not apologize for that battle, and neither do I, and neither should you. She even celebrated it liturgically. In Vienna, September 12th, 1683, Jan Sobieski, King of Poland, arrived at the gates of Vienna with his winged hussars to relieve a city that had been under Ottoman siege for 2 months. He heard Mass before the battle. He fought under papal blessing. He broke the siege and ended the last serious attempt by the Ottoman Empire to overrun Christian Europe. I said it with a little emphasis there because can we say it's Christian today? Just walk the streets of Paris or London and you tell me. When he wrote to Pope Innocent XI afterwards, he borrowed the words of Julius Caesar. Veni, vidi, Deus vicit. I came, I saw, God conquered. The Church received that letter with joy. A Church that was unambiguously Catholic and knew what its baptismal water was for. And then there's the Second World War, which Leo XIV's framework collapses entirely. The Allied armies that liberated the concentration camps were not spreading the culture of power. They were exercising the most morally serious use of force in modern history. The chaplains who went into Normandy with those men did not tell them that just war doctrine was outdated. They gave them absolution and sent them into a just fight. The doctrine that cannot account for the liberation of France, of Poland, is not a developed doctrine, as an abdicated one. Now we come to the line that set Catholic Twitter on fire, and rightly so. Paragraph 25 of Magnifica Humanitas. Humanitas. I'm having some pronunciation issues today. Anyway, and I'll read from it directly. The Church does not claim to possess a monopoly on truth, because truth is a good to be shared, not a possession to be monopolized. Now, let us be very precise about what this means, because you can take this a number of ways, and I'm sure there'll be lots of backtracking and whatever. But the thing is, the Catholic Church does not possess truth the way a shopkeeper possesses inventory. She possesses it because Christ, who is truth itself, entrusted it to her. Going, therefore, teach ye all nations, our Lord said in Matthew chapter 28, verse 19. Not going, therefore, participate in humanity's shared search for truth. Teach all nations. The commission is not to dialogue, it is to teach. At the name of Jesus, every knee shall bend. Pius XI, in Mortalium Animos in 1928, addressed exactly this question with a clarity that makes the contrast undeniable. Christian unity, he taught, can only come through return to the one true Church of Christ, not through religious negotiation amongst competing traditions. The Church does not learn revealed truth from history or from interreligious encounter. She teaches because God has spoken, and he spoke through her. The martyrs did not die for a fragment of a larger religious mosaic. They died because the church they belonged to made an exclusive claim. Christ is Lord, Christ is King, and the church that he founded teaches in his name, and no other institution does. Now connect that to the encyclical celebration of what it calls the spirit of Assisi. And this is where I have to facepalm. Okay? Because you need to know what happened at Assisi in 1986. And this is why, like, really, how dare this guy? Like, this is just, it would make my, if I didn't have a nice pint of Guinness here, my blood would boil. And it's, It's heartbreaking. John Paul II convened a World Day of Prayer for Peace. Representatives of every major world religion came, and the statue of the Buddha was placed on the tabernacle at the church. And on the tabernacle where the body of our Lord is reserved. How dare he? I do not say that lightly. I say that with grief. Because the Blessed Sacrament is not a prop in an interfaith event. But that is where the spirit of Assisi leads. And there's two more details you should know about that Buddha. It had an inscription. It said, "The law of the Buddha shall rule my life." And secondly, you should know that right beside John Paul II that day was an archbishop named Marcel Lefebvre. And he left that meeting immediately when he saw it. And he understood that the great apostasy was upon us. And a week or two later, he consecrated 4 priests of his own that would carry on the society. And now we're full circle. We're back. They're going to let these guys be automatically excommunicated for consecrating without a mandate. They're in communion with Islam, they say, but they won't allow these fine men in the society to have their own bishops. So Leo XIV actually invokes it. He has the audacity to evoke Assisi. It's like a big thumb in the eye to all our brothers and sisters who support the Society of Pius X and the clergy that are with her. Evoking the spirit of Assisi. How dare you? And then there's Leo XIV's own previous statement made before this encyclical that the Catholic Church is in communion with Islam. In communion. How does that even, this is ridiculous. I get these Novus Ordo people and these Catholic YouTubers crapping on me on Twitter. Oh, you're schismatic. Oh, you're this or that, right? And here their dear leader is saying they're in communion with Islam. Like, excuse me? I don't want to be in communion with that. All right? If that's what you want to do, good. But that's not the faith that our Lord Jesus gave us. And if you aren't awake by now, I don't know what'll wake you up. In communion. Communion is a specific theological term. It describes the bond of faith and sacrament that unites the members of Christ's body to one another and to him. Islam explicitly and formally denies the divinity of Christ, like some modern seminaries, by the way, so maybe they are in communion. It denies the divinity of Christ, the Holy Trinity, the Incarnation, the redemption, the revelation that God the Father is Father. And it's not possible to be in communion with a religion that denies the very foundation of the communion you claim to share. But yet, they have Abrahamic family house. They've got 3 Borg cubes, a Catholic cube named after Francis when he was still alive. It was the first time in the 2,000 history of the Catholic Church that a church was named after a living person. And they named it the Francis Church in this campus of defilement with a synagogue and a mosque on the same campus. The Church of the Great Architect is what it is. The Church of Syncretism, of Deism, the Church of Coexist. It's not the church that Jesus founded. So this isn't a hard case to consider, folks. This isn't like a subtle theological question requiring years of graduate study. I mean, this is a square circle, right? He's praising the Buddha on the tabernacle, essentially. And a church whose visible head draws square circles has ceased, at least in its current functioning, to perform the office for which Christ established it. So where does that leave the baptized? Here's what I want you to hold on to. The church is God's, not Leo XIV's. She cannot be dissolved by one. Her membership is not ultimately defined by administrative regularity or judicial recognition from Rome in these days. It is defined by baptism and the adherence to the faith received, the faith as it was delivered to the saints. As Jude verse 3 says, to deviate from what the church has always and everywhere taught as de fide, and belonging to the faith itself. It excludes a person from the church more surely than any juridical or administrative action ever could. And this is why good men and women across the Catholic world are making the decisions they are making. The Society of Pius X will proceed with episcopal consecrations, and they will do so because the sacramental continuity of the faith must be preserved. And because the alternative is to accept that the visible institution currently claiming Rome's authority is the sole and sufficient definition of where the church is, it is not. And we have the proof from their own actions, words, and endlessly revised teachings. We cannot today accept as normative a judicial regularity that comes packaged with the denial of the church's exclusive claim to truth, an apology for her own doctrine, and a boot on the tabernacle. Regularity without the faith is not regularity, it is costume. And the question for every baptized person watching this is, what does God want of you today? He wants what he has always wanted. He wants you to hold the faith, receive the sacraments, raise your children Catholic, support the priests who preach without apology, and refuse the comfortable slide into Mick religion that tells you the church is just one sincere voice amongst many. We are all one, says Leo a number of weeks ago, referring to an interfaith gathering. We are not. The church is the bride of Christ, the one ark of salvation, the custodian of the truth that the martyrs died to preserve. That church still exists. She exists wherever the faith is held without compromise. Find her, stay in her, bear her light. If you were baptized in the West, fight for the West. So, Felix, what do you make of that? Hello, Felix?
Oh, check. Hopefully you can hear me. Hello, check.
Oh, yeah, there you are.
Oh, all right. Yeah,
I was calling out to you. You were disappearing on me.
I know. No. I was just crying tears of shame from what you're saying here. This is pretty crazy.
Yeah, you can't make it up. It's crazy. No, I mean, and too, I understand, guys. I'm just a little growly at this, right? I don't mean to be. It's like you're being forced to watch someone attack your mom or your sister, right? When they hurt the church like this, it's pretty rough. And sometimes I deal with things through humor. So yeah, if I snicker or something here and there, it's a cope. But it is you know, nothing surprises me with these guys anymore, Felix. Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about all these poor men that serve in the military, right? And then Leo comes out and says that basically they're all crap. Like he came out with a couple of remarks a couple of weeks ago too. And
right.
You know, it's just you know, we just had Memorial Day and the like, and I don't see that he gives a lot of respect to people in uniform, and his pacifism is just ridiculous. And it's not supported by Christian history.
No, well, yeah, from what I understand, no, it doesn't. But and again, it's just like, what is this doing to the faith? You know, to the overall faith, to the overall church, to the people who want to go to church. You know,
well, I'll tell you what he's doing. There's some people sitting home now, and there's you know, I said it. It's not a joke, although I say it sometimes like it is. It's not really a joke. You know, Leo and Francis have done more for conversions to Orthodoxy than any Orthodox saint.
Yeah,
it's probably true. So the thing is, I mean, the Orthodox in America claim they grew from. I'm going to take these numbers are really rough, but the fellow I heard on YouTube said, I mean, I don't know whether it's
right,
how accurate it is, right? Well, someone said on YouTube, so it must be true, but no, he said something like 15 years ago or whatever that the Orthodox Church was something like 600,000 in America, and now it's apparently 1.2 million. So if that's true,
yeah,
I don't think there was a bunch of passenger ships and airliners full of folks from Greece.
Yeah,
right. That moved over all at once. So
I mean, I'll tell you what.
You brought up a whole bunch of Greek converts to Greek Orthodoxy, right? So I just say, if you're baptized in the West, we need you to fight for the West.
Yeah,
we can't have you guys running off. There's nothing wrong. I love, you know, again, we're going to just set aside. There are some theological differences between the East and West, the non-uniate West. That's not within the scope of tonight's discussion.
Right.
There are serious differences that have evolved, but primarily, I mean, the dispute at least originally started as more of an administrative and power dispute versus a theological one. It's since sort of evolved into a theological one as well.
Yeah.
But putting that aside just for a moment, the fact of the matter is, we need all of the people that are waking up, that are sort of trad pilling, as we say, you know, if you're
Yeah.
waking up, we need you to fight for the West because we need all hands on deck here. And Society Pius X is one of those partners. I get some flack because, you know, some of my Sede friends, you know, they don't like recognize and resist is what we call that group. And I get it. And I don't hold their position exactly either. But here's the thing. We got to stop fighting amongst one another that share the same core Catholic truth. And we've got to do something about this mess that we have in Rome. I don't see how you're going to replace it, Felix. All the cardinals have been appointed by, like, I mean, God himself is going to have to intervene because from Francis appointed something like 80% of the sitting cardinals. They're all going to be like this. Yeah. So it's going to be, you know, people were all excited when Leo got named. They were thinking he was going to be maybe someone that would roll back some of the crazy of Francis, but he's just like, get behind me, Satan, and push.
Yeah. Can we look at one white pill? I guess with what you were just saying.
Sure.
I think there is a thing to be said that we have people at least, what do we say, migrating to the orthodoxy. I'd rather that than straight up falling away from Christianity in general. Just full atheist.
Certainly. No, I mean, at least there they'll get spiritual formation and they're not, you know.
There's something. There's something there.
There's definitely, even I'm sure some of my Sadie friends would agree, there's got to be some mitigation. Like if you're exposed to all this crazy, like here's the problem, folks. If you're an anthropological or political conservative, like if you vote non-leftist in any of the Western countries, you're having a real hard time staying in the mainstream synodal church right now because they've gone completely nuts. So from a conservative point of view, and there's polarization in politics. You know, Felix and I have talked about it before. And people like to separate it completely from religion, but you can't because it's sort of where humanity, where community exists in the day-to-day, right? So the thing is that it's not just a difference in opinion or policy, it's a difference in worldview. And one is very hostile to normative Christianity. Now, the left is not hostile to postmodern Christianity. And unfortunately, that's who's running the big churches now. So postmodern Christians sound like this document. Actually, there was some good in this document, and I would like to not just be Mr. Crap on people, right? So perhaps next week what we'll do is unpack some positive things that were said in concerning the rise of AI and the like. And but I would like to give that a further study. And instead, I'm reacting because I just saw a bunch of Anthony Stein videos, and I saw Catholic Twitter, and I said it was actually I had a text from one of my parishioners who was helping me with an IT project of sorts or media project. And he says, he was saying, oh, well, of course, you're going to be saying something about that tonight. And I thought, yeah, okay, that's fine. That's the topic. So that's how we ended up on it. But, you know, I don't want to leave you guys just with doom and gloom. I want to give you a certain sense of hope, and there's a certain sense that we can build. And it's not all bad. I mean, he did address human dignity vis-a-vis AI and transhumanism. And so those things were good. And so we will...
Right.
At least some of the themes were good. I may nitpick, but we're not going to nitpick on that. My main concern is this tendency towards pacifism versus proper use of force, right? So there's a proper use of force, and those are two very different school thoughts. You know, there are two sets of parents in this world who send little Johnny and Jenny to school, right? There's the kind of parent that wants to say, if a bad guy comes in and it's going to hurt those children in that classroom, they want little Johnny and Jenny to hide under the desk and, you know, hope for the best, right? Yeah. And then there's the other kind of parent that says, no, I hope all those kids get up and swarm that bad guy, right?
Yeah.
And one or two might fall, but for the good of the whole, then we'll lose 2 instead of 20. And where's the attitude of courage? Where's the attitude where we stand up and we, you know, we're sons and daughters of God? Where's our trust that God will take care of us, and that even if should we lose our earthly lives, that God will take care of us?
So Father, I'm sorry, I don't mean to correct you, but we have police officers like in Uvalde that would bravely go in and protect the. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Wait.
Oh my goodness, that guy!
The Nelson Mandela effect.
You realize, guys, that some of these government workers get 100% pensions? Like most of the viewers here don't get 100% pension. You know, the military that I worked for, it was 2% a year you got, right? And I mean, so that meant even if you had a 30-year career, the best you could do was 60, and most people got 40.
Right.
And I mean, you think about it, some of these pensions are pretty gold plated or platinum plated, and you're getting 100% pensions a year after 20 some years of service. So of course they're hiding behind the door of the police car, waiting for backup while the screams of little ones are in there. And a mother apparently went in. She was armed and she went in when the cops wouldn't. So it's like
they wouldn't let her.
Yeah.
No,
they wouldn't let her.
There were people. It wasn't just one. There were armed parents ready to go in there, and the cops held them back. Well, and let me tell you something. I think I suffer from cowardice. Like if I do like a self-examination, I think I have a problem with that. Like if that I'm not a cop. And I wouldn't put myself in that
right.
job. I'm like, you don't need to have more me's in there. We need to have people that are, that can actually stand up to that level of threat.
Well, you're right too. And here's the other thing, Felix. None of us know until we're faced with it, right? Like none of us know how we're going to handle certain emergency. Like you can train for it. The military trains you for all this stuff, but like all kinds of emergencies. And until you are faced with an actual one, you don't know. And so it actually is a certain blessing. Not that you want anything bad to happen, but it is kind of neat when something does happen and you just worked your training and it all works out.
Or you tap into something, right? And it is like maybe like you get a surge of blessing from the Lord because I have had those moments, you know what I mean, where I thought I would run away and actually
here's the other thing.
Firm,
like there's a difference between you walking into the grocery store and you see a guy with a shotgun or something and he's pointing at the store clerk and you run the other way, right? There's a difference between that and especially if you're unarmed, what else are you going to do? Right? You should run away and call the cops.
But tackle the guy. Yeah.
Right. But the thing is, there's a big difference between that and then your granddaughter's in the school and you have access to a means that you could go in and help her and you just decide to sit. Right. That's a very different situation, So I mean, again, and again, and sometimes people freeze up, right? Like it's not their I mean, there's mitigation for all this stuff, right? We're not all built. Yeah. We all have different gifts. So some of us are braver than others in different circumstances. And, even I remember when there was the Great Plague of 2020 kind of thing, right? There was, it was such an interesting thing because most of my background, pre-clergy involved, graduate work in industrial organizational psychology, and I always had an interest in I have no knowledge of psychopathology, right? Like I have no knowledge more than Felix or most of the viewers here because that wasn't my area of specialty. My area was sort of the psychology of the workplace, psychology of motivation, how to measure whether a certain program worked or that kind of stuff, validation studies, job studies, blah, blah, blah. All right. But the thing is that, you start to think about things like what motivates people and all this kind of stuff. And I must say, it really surprised me when there was the plague of 2020, how many people in various Facebook groups were absolutely terrified of going against the crowd. They didn't want to wear the wrong mask or they didn't want to wear, they didn't want to go and break some sort of rule. And I watched people that I normally thought were pretty put together and confident basically revert to grade 4 in their heads and worrying about conformities and stuff like this, and it was the way. It's not that they made an active choice. Well, for the safety of everybody, I should do this. It was this fear, and it wasn't even fear of breaking the rule. It was the fear of being cast out of the group because you didn't do the right thing. You didn't wear the right mask. You didn't have the right clothing. You didn't. I mean, I remember in my age, so I'm in my 50s. And I grew up in the 70s. And I remember there was this little thing in the town I grew up that people would, they'd all they wanted to wear clothes with a certain brand or something. And if you didn't have the brand, you were sort of, outside the popular kids.
What a nerd.
And I never had that. Like, I mean, my parents weren't like that. And I wasn't like that. I never once desired to, conform in that way. And so it's kind of funny. Like, I wonder, like, how much of that is, upbringing, how much of it you're born with, like, where we don't really care. And so this is where we're like, care what other people think. We just want to do what's important and what's right. And then when I look at this, this encyclical, there's going to be people that just buy this hook, line, and sinker. They don't read it critically, if they read it at all. And they just want to go with the crowd because the crowd's all going to follow whatever Leo says. But Leo's wrong on most stuff. Like just basic human stuff. The guy doesn't even the little granny at the Republican tent knows more about how society works. And what's this guy doing? And people are just all following him like he's a third-rate sociology teacher at community college. What the heck?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I'm being a little mean here, and I don't mean to be mean. I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated that people are attaching the church's name and our Lord's name to such poor teaching, and they don't do the basics of homework. And it's just it's discouraging to people that actually believe. The people that just want the church to be some NGO that recycles and opens borders, they don't care. But the people that love her, we do care, and it's a wound. Every time this man and Francis open their mouths, it's a wound. Resign, get out of the way. Grab some holy priest that no one's ever heard of, that prays all the time and actually believes, knows his catechism, offers mass reverently, wants to go to heaven and fears God, and make him pope. Because we're in desperate need for a holy man in that job that puts the church before the UN and the WEF.
Yeah.
But anyway, tell us how you really feel, Mikkel. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, yeah, we'll get like a King Arthur type figure. You never know, right?
Well, that's right. Well, I'm sure Monsignor Haygood has something to say about Arthur. I don't know. I've never talked to him about it, but I'm sure he knows the legends better than I do.
Oh, about King Arthur? Yeah. Well, I mean, Can we start with that? It's something that really happened, and that's another thing. I think we've touched on this a little bit, where they try to tell us things that happened. It didn't actually happen, and vice versa. But like the legend of King Arthur, apparently there was truth to it.
Yep.
Right?
I'm not making
that up, right?
No, you're not. No, it's actually quite interesting, just from a history point of view, where there's these weird gaps in recorded history, right? Like just a few hundred years here, a few hundred years there. Certain records have just disappeared. And so it is kind of funny that I guess it was just the nature of the unrest of the age and whatever. But there's a whole bunch of history that people will dispute. Archaeologists and historians will have bun fights over and the like. And Arthur's one of them. Yeah.
No, but I mean, if we're lucky, we'll get. Well, I don't know. We get maybe a figure
like
even
that. The early history of the first king of England, right? Like that, there was a whole bunch of these sort of local kings, and there's a whole bunch of debate about various stuff. And then, of course, there was the Viking raids, and the Normans came in 1066 and the like. And but it's that whole period. I think it's like, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's like this period between like the year 600 and I think 800 that's pretty dark. I'm not a historian. I love history, but I don't put myself out there as a historian per se.
Yeah. I like pop culture history. That's my neck of the woods.
Right.
The Star Wars history. No, but I'm kidding, half kidding. We do have some. I'm actually so disappointed that White Wolf isn't here, because
White Wolf
of
all the days not to have White Wolf.
I know. I'm definitely dying to hear his take on this. It should be interesting. Maybe he's here, just quiet or whatever.
Okay, so one of you guys have to stand in for him and be a little obnoxious, just a little, because we love White Wolf.
Yeah, just do 5 comments per minute, roughly, and by the end, call us idiots.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because we're still a very small. Like, one of these little videos typically gets about 200 views total. Like, we're very small channel, and we get like right now we have 9 watching, and you might get up. I think our record wasn't it like 52 or something, Felix. We actually got like a lot watching one, but it was a good topic. It was a good topic, and it was timely, and people wanted to watch it. And so the thing is that we don't have a lot, but you like to have enough comments, you can get a discussion going. And but the thing is as you grow, then you can't involve everybody. So it's kind of a catch-22. So at least when you guys have the size you are now, the live stream, anything you say, will be responded to.
No. So, all right. So let's see what we got here. We don't got much comments, so bring them in. But we'll start with, first off, hi, Father Haygood.
Good evening, Monsignor. Good evening, Dale. Go team.
Good evening, Dale. Go Team Dale. All right, let's go. And Norm says, great topic. Outrageously, Pope Leo XIV has put secular relativism above godly righteousness. My question, how can he, an educated man, not understand how terrible his stance is?
Yeah, good question from Norm. So here's the
And he
thing.
does.
I was trying to play. I know I didn't sound like it but in my preparation for actually, Felix, why don't you reduce me on the screen so that Norm's comment can appear below me versus me looking like I'm peeking over that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wait, hold on. I have a thing here. I'll fix that.
Well, in preparation, I asked a friend to play devil's advocate against my little growl, right? And Norm's point came up, and it was like, I was trying to say, well, maybe he just didn't think it through. Like I was trying to say, maybe he was just trying to be wearing rose-colored glasses and the like. And basically, response said, no, this man is like doesn't he have multiple doctorates and trained in mathematics and theology and canon law? And like, no, he knows this stuff. He's probably a lot smarter than I am, but he's not as congruent, right? So, and what I mean by that is, you have to align it with the actual teaching of the church. So, I hate to say it, but we're gonna have to ring a bell, Felix. But Lord of the World, right?
Oh yeah, Lord of the World. That's right.
It's following that playbook of that book by Hugh Benson. So for any of you who haven't heard my little pitch before, I know I don't get a commission. There is a book called Lord of the World. It's like 99 cents on Amazon, and it was recommended by Leo, Benedict XVI, and Francis. And I would say that you can clearly see that Francis and Benedict are sort of represent the two different factions depicted in the book, the two different factions of church. So you might benefit from reading that. I have heard that some people don't like the language, like it's not like bad language, but it's 1907 British English. And so the remedy for that, I've been told, is the audiobook. I don't mind reading the old books, but not everybody likes it.
Oh, I cannot. With like, if you start going 1910s, 1920s, and you just start losing it, and that's shame on me. That's not shame on them. That's shame on me. But
it comes with just reading a lot of old books you don't mind.
Yeah, right? Audio. So I do audio. When I say read, I'm listening. I'm really listening to the book. And I did an audio listen of Lord of the World, and it is pretty good. I have to re-listen to it. As my short-term memory is just kind of shot with books. It's all full of Star Wars. I'm just looking forward to the day, and I hope I live to see it, Felix, that we have a Holy Father that I never have to say a single bad word about. Yeah,
like I never said a bad word about Benedict. I never said a bad word about John Paul. But that said, I didn't hear about anything that John Paul did a little crazy until just years after he was gone, right? Like, I mean, see, the age of the internet, right? So, I mean, so some of these guys, when they get up to crazy, you don't know about it at the time. And so, but yeah, I mean, I was a pretty big Benedict fan, but a lot of my Sadie friends don't like him at all. So I saw him as trying to bridge old and new as best as he could. But that opinion isn't shared by everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Let's see. Norm says, I've been drawn to reading and rereading Chesterton's great poem, Lepanto, and a book of essays related to the poem and the battle it powerfully portrays. I'm interested in that, actually. Wow. Okay. I know you mentioned Chesterton before as a really good author.
Absolutely. So Chesterton and his cohort was a fellow named Hilaire Belloc, who wrote The Servile State. And these are really good things. Actually, it's right up your alley, Felix. Actually, Servile State's right up your alley. You'd like him. He was kind of like the good aspect of Bernie Sanders without the bad. Yeah. So you'd like him. Yeah. But the thing is, basically try to bring some Christianity to the social order, right? And Lepanto was a great miracle. And we didn't get into it in the little monologue there, but there was a lot of bishops and a lot of Protestants who opposed Pius V at the time. There were a lot of Catholic bishops that opposed, and that's why he went direct to the laity and he said to the laity, pray the rosary. So that battle was won by the laity praying the rosary. So, we can win the church again through that, right? If everybody prayed the Holy Rosary, and I say it's my thing, every priest, every bishop has their recommended devotions or, path of basic stuff. And for me, I'm always going about the morning offering and the evening examination of conscience. But the Holy Rosary is a big one too, and it's, if you can, my sort of thinking is, if you don't have a morning offering, evening exam, and you're not going to likely sustain a rosary. But that's not 100% true. Some people pray the rosary and they don't do a morning offering, evening exam. And so the great thing about the rosary is it's a scriptural prayer for those who are coming in from Protestantism. They can learn about Catholicism through the scriptural prayer of the rosary, which always surprises them initially, and then they get into it and they're like, I had no idea. Exactly. And then also those who like to meditate on the scriptural mysteries. So there's a lot of mental prayer that's encouraged by contemplating the mysteries of the rosary. And then the great thing about the rosary is, if you're really like you're injured, or you're older and you can't do all the reflection and stuff clearly like you used to be able to, you can still say the prayers, right? So you're still participating in this beautiful prayer that sort of meets us where we are at in our faith journey and in our age and our capability. And so the rosary is great. But like I say, if you're asking me what's the one thing that I need to do to keep a good spiritual hygiene, I would say it's the morning offering and the evening exam. And Lepanto, there's actually a Lepanto Institute. You can look it up. You can put it in your Google bar, Lepanto Institute. It's run by a very good Catholic layman, and he has a lot of good resources there at Lepanto Institute.
Oh, gotta check that out. All right, so let's see. Norm says, thank you. This topic really fires my heart and soul, and mind and body.
Yeah.
Hey,
hey, Kathy.
Good, Kathy. Good to see you. I agree, Bishop. Makes me ill to hear anything of that obnoxious talk from Rome.
That's right. That's why I want to have, I don't want every one of these shows to be me crapping on somebody, right? Like, so next week I'm going to bring something positive with regard to, I think what we're going to try to do. I mean, I'll get bumped if there's something, the topic will get bumped if there's some urgent news, but I'd like to talk about the church's positive response to the AI question and the Neuralink question. So there's this thing, we won't get too much on the rabbit hole today, but someone was telling me, I'm just trying to think, it was someone on Sunday, one of my parishioners was telling me they're kind of leveling up this Neuralink thing, and that it's going from being marketed to give a paralytic the ability to walk and a blind person the ability to see, to basically, install a brain like Cyberpunk, chip in your brain, and then you're going to be able to think like a god and use mental telepathy because you have the Wi-Fi, right? You can turn your lights on. You don't need the clapper. You just think light on and away it'll go. And so, it's kind of neat in a way. But I mean, if you're gonna use that kind of tech, like, do it with a little hat or something, right?
Yeah,
like the kids with the VR helmets,
glasses,
or something, because you start putting chips in people's brains. Like someone, the parishioner who told me about it on Sunday, he was saying, what happens if they just shut you off or whatever, right? So, I mean, in the era where they're just wanting to program your car that they can just turn it off with a code, like, do you really want a chip in your brain?
Yeah. Or what about a computer virus? So you get hacked.
Absolutely. If you get hacked. Yeah.
What if you get hacked? All right. So not only are you worrying about demonic possession, now you just have straight up corporate possession. I mean, or I mean, I don't know even what you would, but you would get like some sort of human possession.
Well, Felix and I, if we get hacked, we'll be like Max Headroom here in two screens.
Just start twitching all over the place.
Right. No, but I mean, so the thing is, not all this technology is a tool. So people mistake this stuff as either all evil or all good. And it's just a tool. It's what you do with it.
Yeah.
So can a brain chip be used in a moral manner? Yes. If it can replace, give a paralytic or a quadriplegic the use of their limbs again, then that's a good.
I mean,
if you can give a blind person sight or a deaf person hearing, that's a good. But if it's done to make you like Lex Luthor, not good. Right?
Yeah.
And then people will argue, but what's the difference? What's the difference? The difference is that one is repairing an injury, something that was taken away from you, and the other risks when you use it for a means to increase your capability of mind. you're kind of messing in the realm of you almost create a new species. You're on the way to do so, right? So that's why they call it transhumanism. Like it's human, it's human leveled up using machine. And for the Star Trek fans, that's where you get the Borg, right?
Yep.
Which we kind of already have without the hardware.
Yeah. It's crazy liberalism. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
there's I mean, and then first off, I don't know how people can be sold on it. I don't know why I'm saying that, because
I don't know, Felix. It'd be pretty
kid,
cool if you think about it. If mom thought she could talk to her son just by thinking about him,
yeah, why aren't you home yet? Yeah,
right. And all that exists. All that would exist if everybody had the chip. You'd just be able to talk to people through your brain, and you'd be able to, like I say, turn on the lights, and
you can slow down time, or like your perception of time, and
probably
just act
could.
like super.
Yeah, be like full Matrix. You'd be doing ninja stuff. Felix would be just there you go.
But that would be everybody just moving in slow motion, because if everyone would have it, like, what are we doing? So
there's some movies. Like, again, you know what? I'm not. I went through a period of my life. I didn't watch hardly any entertainment because I went to school full time and I worked full time. And then it wasn't until I got sort of older that I had, you realize you only have so for those of you who are young, your day will come when you don't have energy. So when I was young, my energy level matched my awake hours perfectly. And I love to blame it on Florida, but it's probably just me getting older. When I moved to Florida, for the first time ever, I started having to nap in the afternoon in the summers.
I had to nap today before
I don't know whether it's age or blame Florida heat in the summer. But anyway, what's my point? My point is that so in the afternoons, for example, I can meet with people socially, or I can just answer some email that doesn't require, like, I'm just exchanging social pleasantry or whatever. I can do that, but I can't do any deep thinking in the afternoon now at this stage of my life. So and then in the evening, of course, same thing. Sometimes I get my second wind, sometimes I don't. But what I'm getting at is that I will consume entertainment, right, where I went years without. And so I want to share, like, again, it's a tool used to excess. It's bad, right? But I will share with you a couple of things that you might want to see. So there's a movie that I would recommend you only watch once. It's called Idiocracy. You can't watch it again. It'll drive you. You'll want to jump off your bookcase or something. Good and because it's painful to watch, but it's important, like an adult fairy tale. Like, it teaches you something about the way the world could go. The other movie that's very, very good, of course, we mentioned The Matrix all the time, the first one. And the other one that I recommend people, there's two more. The other one is a work that came out in the 80s called Gattaca, Gattaca. So that is a very good one for a traditional Catholic to watch. All right. And I would say the final one that I'll recommend tonight is that Kubrick
Eyes Wide Shut?
Yeah, the AI. That movie.
Oh, AI. Yeah.
Very disturbing. AI. You'll only watch it once.
Yeah.
You'll only watch it once. Chances are, it's psychologically disturbing. At least it was for me. It's just it's kind of odd. But the thing is that these are important because they give you some insight into the way the world is kind of going, and so it's not a bad thing to have that kind of safe space. I hate to use that word, but I mean, it's kind of like a safe space where you can examine it in fictional environment, and you can help recognize some crazy that's coming down the pike, and hopefully keep yourself and your loved ones away from it. And again, you just trust in our Lord, trust in get a traditional catechism. I don't care if it's Baltimore, Pius X, Council of Trent. Get whatever matches your education and style level, and just stick close to that catechism and the scripture. And St. Jerome said ignorance of scripture is ignorance of Christ. So if you stick to this, and that reads, I recommend people read Luke, Acts, John, Genesis in that order, and then just carry through the Old Testament, carry through the whole scripture. And but you start with Luke, Acts, and John, and then go through it again and read Luke and John again through as you go through again. And that's my recommendation to you. And you want to be steep. You want to know your stuff. It's one of your duties of baptism to the best of your ability. Like, not everybody's capable of reading that dense text, right? But most of us are. And ignorance of Scripture is ignorance of Christ. And we also talked about if you can't, like, some people have, they only have so much energy, their eyes get fatigued or what have you. Well, get the audiobook then. Get the audio Bible.
Yeah.
And just be steeped in these stories, and be steeped, for those most people that watch this are Catholic or Catholic inclined. Get some books on the lives of the saints. There's some publishers. There's a number of good Catholic publishers. The one of my seminary days that everybody used was 10 books, and they had all kinds of saint biographies and the like. And Saint Vincent Ferrer, however you want to pronounce him, he's definitely, that should be on your list. Pius X. There's all these great saints. Teresa of Avila, Alphonsus Liguori, of course Augustine. These are treasures. Thomas à Kempis, Francis de Sales. These are treasures for you that God, through His mercy and love, has given us through the saints to give us this information. And YouTube's given us Fulton Sheen, back again, for people that remember Fulton Sheen. And not everybody likes Fulton Sheen. I know I got Sadie friends who hate Fulton Sheen, but whatever. But I mean, the early Fulton was not bad. So, certainly most of his public stuff was not bad. So these are good to feed the soul and to fill your time, especially, we don't know how much time we have left, right? We don't know whether it's 200 years or next week, but our Lord is coming again to judge the living and the dead and the world by fire. And this is not going to be a reunion of Happy Bunny and flowers and hugs. This is a day of wrath. And this isn't something to be, depressed about. It's something to welcome God in His good time, in infinite love and an infinite mercy and an infinite justice. He is going to do this. And you want to be on the right side of that history. You want to be numbered among the elect. And you do that by living your baptismal duty. So we talk about all the benefits of baptism. But just a couple of days ago, Felix, I saw this thing there. The head of doctrine was saying that that hell's empty. So if hell's empty, then why do we have to worry about following these crazy people with this new religion? We don't.
Right.
So you know what? If they're teaching hell's empty, that's not what we teach. Our Lady of Fatima showed the seers of Fatima souls falling like embers. So it's an Alphonsus and St. Leonard Port Maurice. You can get their sermons online too. And they certainly warn you. And they have a happy ending, but they scare the heck out of you in the beginning. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, all right. We're getting some comments here. Even someone mentions the name Gamer, the movie Gamer, which I've never seen, but I know about.
I've never seen
interesting.
That.
Yeah, I know it's with Gerard Butler. We'll get to that comment for sure. Let me see. I'm trying to think of other movies. I always tell people to watch They Live with the Roddy Piper, which me and you still have to finish. But let me see. Father Hagen says, I feel like this is just Dignitas Infinita with Leo's editions. It's absolutely garbage. What is that? Dignitas Infinita? Infinite Dignity?
Yeah, that's a Francis thing.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Can you give me a basic?
Well, actually, you just did. You heard it. It's like the Monsignor says. It's just the thing is, he said humans have infinite dignity, which we don't. Right? I mean, you have to really contort. You really have to contort it to kind of make it work. But I mean, that's how modernists are, right? Like even the stuff that Leo said, you probably could walk some of it back in a way that technically wasn't heresy, right? I mean, this is the problem. That's what's so tiresome about these modernists. They always have to. They just can't speak plainly, right?
Yeah.
And so the thing is that. The only person that has infinite dignity is God, right? Humans don't have infinite dignity. We talked about the that at one of our shows. I'm trying to remember a long time ago because I remember doing a math lesson and I said Leo was praising it and Leo was Leo was actually, Leo might even been the author of Dignitas Infinita, because I remember saying he's a mathematician and he knows better. Infinity plus one, everybody knows this. If I talk to a 16-year-old math student and I say, what's infinity plus one? In fact, I did. I talked to a 16-year-old math student and just to try it out. I asked him, he got it right. Infinity plus one is infinity.
Infinity.
So,
yeah.
Right. So, I mean, the minute you start saying, well, God has infinite dignity and so does humanity because it's made in his image. No, then what you're saying is that God has, that humanity has the same dignity as God. He doesn't. Even our Blessed Mother doesn't have the same dignity of God, and she's full of grace. So,
right.
There's some silliness. Now we're heirs. And John chapter 1 teaches we're heirs. But it's not every human that's an adopted son or daughter of God. Read John 1 carefully. To those that receive him, he gave the power of becoming children of God. He didn't say to every human that breathes and burps and farts, they have infinite dignity. No.
Yeah,
that's not what it says. It's so dignified. Says those who received him. And by receiving him, that means you keep his commandments. It doesn't just to receive our Lord is to love him and to live under his law. Right? So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, I was going to share in the chat actually an audio Bible but it's King James version. Is that okay? Is that acceptable?
Well, I mean, it's not like there's, the walls are going to bleed here, Felix, okay. But I just called you Fergus. I called somebody the other day the wrong name too. I'm having brain hiccups.
All right.
So if the person at my parish that I called the wrong name the other day, after I've known them for like 6 years, you just heard I called Felix Fergus.
It happens. It happens. Now, what was the what was it? So yeah, just to be clear, it's King James version. But the reason I shared it is because the guy has such a great voice, Alexander Scorby. It's just epic. Yeah, it sounds like something out of the 50s or something. It's so well read. Sometimes I would read it. I would put it on while I would fall asleep. It's just good narrator. Good narrator.
Good.
Let's see what else we got here. Father Haygood says, I've learned that much like lemmings off a cliff, they will follow their blind shepherds and the Pope into the pits of hell.
Well, we hope not. According to Leo, Francis speaks to him at the altar, right? Remember that? It was like he was Pope a day. He comes out, I feel Francis speaking. Yeah. Are you sure that was up? Or maybe it was no, I'm just being a silly fool. Don't worry about it. We do not presume the final judgment of anybody. No. But the problem is they just name everybody saints now.
Yeah.
Haven't you noticed that?
Yeah.
They got rid of the devil's advocate and they lowered the bar of the miracles. And now everybody's a saint. If you make a website, you're a saint. If you call a meeting, you're a saint. If you buy a 6-pack of beer, you're a saint. It used to mean something. There used to be miracles that were verifiable and they were people worthy of holy example. And now it's just a political statement to rubber stamp a theological trajectory.
It's a sign of political favor, I was just going to say, or something. Or it can be. It can be used that way. Maybe there are genuine saints in there, but then now it's like we get into
Paul VI is a saint, but Leo XIII is not. We've got problems, right? So
yeah, is it possible these things get worked out in the future though, like by future popes and?
Yeah, I mean, I think my own school of thought, and you guys share in the chat whether you agree with me or you have a different view, but my own view is it's too far gone for the church to reform just by another conclave, right? So it's going to take divine intervention.
Yeah,
every once in a while, Anthony Stein, Dr. Anthony Stein on a show, Return to Tradition, does a little show on some of these 1800s era prophecies. And there's one that says basically St. Peter and Paul are coming back and they're going to restore the hierarchy and name a pope. So, we'll see. We'll see. It's getting to the point, though, like if they don't even follow their 1990s catechism.
Right,
which they don't. So if 1990 is too old fashioned for them, I mean, what's coming next? Right?
Yeah.
So it's not sustainable. Every Catholic apologist, basically all these people that have made money, lay preachers, like preaching, trying to convert Protestants, they owe all these guys an apology because Leo just said we don't have a monopoly on the truth. Well, Why are we following? Right? I used to go after Baptists and non-denominationals, and in the 90s, that was my thing. I was right into apologetics. I got into Carl Keating. I read a bunch of anti-Catholic tracts, and then I would write essays against them. I did some street preaching as a seminarian, again trying to evangelize people to the faith. And the fact of the matter is, the church has moved in a different direction. It doesn't actually believe in that faith that was taught commonly even in the 1990s. It's changing. There's a Latin saying, folks, modus in fine velociter, that things speed up near the end.
Yeah.
And that's so. What does that end mean? Does that mean the end of the world, or does that mean the end of an era? And originally this channel was named New Epoch for that reason. I think we're at the end of an epoch. I don't think it's necessarily the end. I think there's hopefully we're going to have the triumph of the Immaculate Heart, and there'll be some intervention. Now I have a number of priest friends that tell me, no, that's too easy. We're going to have a collapse in dark age, and the monasteries are going to bring Catholicism back. Maybe, but I think AI and robotics change that. I don't think the world is going to have another dark age per se. I think it's either going to go like that movie AI in Gattaca that I mentioned, or it's going to have a divine intervention of some form and a period of grace, a period of rest, a period of restoration. But then we know that even that the people will eventually defect. The Hebrews that were liberated from Pharaoh in Egypt, it only took them 40 days to decide to make a new god. And unfortunately, our people are pretty much that fickle. In fact, the attention spans are a lot less now, Felix. I mean, with our luck, it'll only last a week.
Right. Let me see. G. Malloy says the document seems more like a term paper or a dissertation than an encyclical.
Yeah. So my question for Gene and actually all of you is, what do you think the main purpose of that document was? So those of you who read the whole thing, I mean, I skipped over a lot of it, right? There was a whole bunch of stuff on AI and the dignity of humanity. And I am going to answer this in a more positive manner. I will do it in writing on Substack, but I may do a show on it next week, just because I like to mix up some Happy Bunny stuff. It's just, we've had it coming hot and heavy. I mean, someone quoted me the other day. It was funny. I was in a room with a bunch of clergy and some other lay people, and somebody was just taking notes on their phone, different things I was saying, because sometimes I'm funny. I wish I could tell you I'm funny, haha, but sometimes it's funny, strange. But anyway, what they were doing is that they shared one of these quotes that I just came out of me, and I thought that's really kind of neat. And I said, these fools, they're destroying things faster than I can comment. They're changing things faster than I can even keep up with.
Yeah.
So it's like the exhilaration of change is so much that I can't even respond to it in time. So it's kind of crazy. And you guys are all going through it too. So some people cope by just not reading any of the church news or reading news at all.
Guilty as charged.
And it's a balance. Like I try to be your guys' curator, right? Like the same with my parishioners. And so, I give you the headlines and sort of what you need to know. And at the end of the day, the answer to the people that want to opt out is that, well, we just stick to our Blessed Mother. We stick to our daily prayers, morning offering, evening examen, go to mass, go to confession. You're absolutely right. Especially if you're in your retirement years and you're just trying to prepare.
Right.
But the thing is that we also need people in the fight, right? So if you have the energy, and not everybody does, but if you can't weasel God, so you either have the energy or you don't. But if you have the energy to be in the fight, then we need you to be a little bit educated of this stuff so that you can help people out of the hole where you can. And we never win souls by winning arguments. Okay. So when I do a little monologue here, it gives you some ideas, maybe little arrows in your quiver. When I do the Substacks, the same thing. It gives you arrows in your quiver. I don't want you to go out there and just stomp on people that are incorrect. I want you to figure out a couple good questions to ask the people that disagree with you, plant those seeds, and then pray for them. And then the Holy Ghost, he does the conversion. He wins them over. And when they come over to the truth, I don't want you to gloat and say, I told you so. See, I'm smarter. I read more catechism. I read more scripture. I mean, not that anybody watching this would do that, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, like, there's a temptation, especially if it's a hard, long fight with somebody, that when you win, you want to gloat a little bit, like you do when your sports team wins. Do that with your sports team. That's fun. Don't do that with anything to do with the faith. You basically have an attitude of welcome home. with humility, realize that they are just, it's going to take a little while for them to catch up where you are. Welcome them home and pray for them and love them and spend time with them. And that's how you win souls. Plant seeds, pray for them, let God do the work. And then when they come back, providing an atmosphere of welcome. And then they in turn bring people to them learning the same thing. So, I should get off my butt and do a little series. I won't do it like on our live stream, but I should do a little series of videos on sort of how to do that practically or help. Because it's so neat. Like God really does touch hearts. You just have to help create that environment. It's like, have you ever had a sort of a mental block? You want to clean your house or clean an office or clean an attic or something that you've been avoiding because you haven't needed to go in there for a while. And there's just this debris in the entryway. And sometimes all it takes is to just sort that one little piece, and then the rest of it's easy. It's just that block.
Right.
And I know some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, evangelization is a lot like that. You gotta get behind someone's block, and you gotta remember that change, even good change, can be stressful, and people will push back at you when you try to teach them certain stuff, and you don't get offended. Like, just take what they say. If you don't know what you're talking about, which all of us have things, myself included, it's out of my depth. So what I say is, I'll get back to you. I'll look it up, and then look it up. Try to understand it. Use it as an opportunity that God has given you, that you should learn something that's a little different than your comfort zone. And then you bring folks in. Like it's a real hard thing. When I'm talking to people that are in one of the modernist churches, they think I'm judging them. They think I'm saying they're not real Christians. They think you think you're so superior because you're traditional or all this kind of stuff. That's not the battle here. The battle here is, the first battle is to try to get them to define, first of all, what's Catholic or Christian. And the second one, okay, well, how do you understand authority? So do you understand authority from the Bible? Do you understand authority from the councils? Do you understand, how do you understand how those work? What are the writings of the saints mean, if anything, to you? All this kind of stuff. And then you get your baseline. And then what you try to do is you find some sort of bridge between something they understand and something that you understand that they don't. Typically, you can build that bridge with a really good question. Questions are great. You can't argue with a question. And then what happens, you ask that question, you leave it with them, you don't nag them. If you get some traction, you do not push forward. You give it time. You give it a couple days. If it looks like it had good traction, then it can be a shorter period of time. If it's something that difficult personality, then you're going to give it more time, more space. And you're going to pray for these people. And if ideally you're in front of the Blessed Sacrament when you pray for them. And they come. God converts them. If he can knock Paul off his horse, he can knock off your Aunt Ethel, right? Like, well, that doesn't sound right. He's not going to necessarily smite Aunt Ethel. He can convert her.
Yeah, right.
But and you can be a small part of that. That's what you do. It's funny, in the 90s, it was a big fad. A lot of people right over the top thinking that God's given them special gifts for all this, a prophecy, and doing this and doing this. The biggest gift you could do is to take some of these little wayward lambs and take them back to the Good Shepherd by asking good questions and just loving and praying for them. That you don't need to be a great source of prophecy. You need to be a source of good questions and care about people.
Yeah. All right. Now let's see. Father Higgins says there's also the fact that they can't decide whether or not his name was actually Arthur. Right? Do they call Uther? Right? Did you get with that? Or
well, that's his dad, isn't it?
Uther was his dad. That's right.
I think so.
That's right. But yeah, by the way, Excalibur, the movie Excalibur. I know you probably have. You seen it, Father? It's like from 1980.
I think so, but that would be years ago, though, right?
From like 1980. It is. I think it's the definitive Arthur movie, King Arthur movie. It's Excalibur. I think it was by.
I get them all mixed up. I know the general story, and there's been a couple like modern, like redos of it, which are. Not all of them are obnoxious. Some of them are just funny. The British did one. They had this young kid. It was on Merlin mostly, but I forget which one. He was this tall, lanky guy, and but it was well done. It was a little silly, but it was meant to be. It was sort of a semi-comedy, But that whole legend really is steeped in the people over there.
Yeah, and I like, again, it's just, I bet that it's probably like 90% accurate, and we just won't give it the credit, like it just put it all in legend. I mean, it could be, maybe it's only 10% real for all I know, But
I do not know.
it's just, it's just it it reminds me of like what they do with like Bible stories and stuff. And in fact, I was watching something on it because again, I think we spoke about this on the podcast before, but they believe they found Noah's Ark on in Turkey, right? And like, it's like, yeah, we knew this
Oh,
forever
right.
ago. We knew this forever ago. But I think the reason why, from what I understand, it's in the news again because they did some like radar readings or whatever, and they're seeing the wood and chambers, and it looks like it's a real boat. It's not just a formation on a mountaintop or whatever. That looks interesting. And it's where the Bible said it would be, right? If I'm not mistaken. It's pretty much it like kind of checks all the boxes. But again,
now,
we went our whole
isn't this the site they wouldn't for many decades allow anybody near it?
right. And from what I understand, I think it's in a Muslim control, right?
Could be.
It's a Muslim control. They wouldn't want that. They wouldn't want that.
Well,
they wouldn't want a bunch of Christians here getting their religion proven right, because they don't. I don't think they believe in.
I'm trying to think of what part of the Old Testament they claim to. I don't know actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like
I know Muslims claim that they're under Abraham as well. So I don't know how much of the Old Testament they regard as authoritative.
Yeah,
so if someone knows that in the chat, you can stick it in there because that's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, the problem with them is that it's like everything is they believe in the Torah until they don't, then it's corrupt. Although the entire Bible's corrupt when it suits them, and except when it doesn't, when they can use it against us, and then when we can use it against them, then all of a sudden it's corrupt. So it's like that's kind of like a losing battle when you start trying to talk to the Bible.
Yeah, I don't really get into it with them on that. There's it really boils down to, I tell everybody, don't argue down the logic chain. So this might be useful to what we were talking about earlier when you're trying to win people over. So there's no point in you talking about the third person of the Holy Trinity and how the Holy Spirit dwells in you like you're a living temple of God if the person doesn't even believe in the Trinity, right? So I mean, you can mention it sort of in passing to the person that doesn't, but what I'm saying is there's so much work to do earlier on before they get there, right? So one of the things you want to do is you want to find the common ground. So if you're a Muslim, for example, I had one on Twitter try to come at me with something, and he was quoting the Quran to me to prove that he was right, and I gently had to suggest to him, if you're going to have an argument about the truth of Islam, you're going to have to come to a common starting point. Like, I reject the Quran. So, it's no disrespect to you or to your prophet. It's just, that's the whole reason why I'm Christian and you're Muslim, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
So you've got to, since I know that they regard some of our material as authoritative, then come at me with some of my material that we both agree on.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like, they get to their credit. They do have some sort of reverence for Jesus. And again, this is like totally different from modern Jews, I guess, because they have like a real I guess when we get into the Orthodox Jews and Hasidics or whatever, they have a real hate for the Lord.
It's a can of worms, right? So there's actually a segment of Catholic traditionals that use just exactly what you say, Felix. They think, oh, that's great, Islam is closer to us because they reverence the Blessed Mother and they reverence Jesus, but not as God. Right. And I don't know. I guess your school of thought. Like for me, to regard Jesus as a prophet is more offensive to me than to regard him as just an ordinary man that people confuse, sort of like the Monty Python Life of Brian. The reason being is that I believe it's very clear. Like Fulton Sheen and C.S. Lewis both took this question on. Some of you know where I'm going, right? As soon as I said that, right? Mm-hmm. So basically, either our Lord was who he said he was, or he was a liar, so a fraud, or he was not
a
fool.
liar, lunatic.
There's no,
Right,
there
yeah.
is no category there that he was just a holy prophet, a holy man.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I agree, but
So
here's
that's
the
why
problem.
I'm saying, like, for me, it's hard for me to respect this saying, oh, well, we reverence him. And to be fair, it's not just the Muslims. There's a bunch of different religions that are non-Christian that reverence Jesus in some form.
It's some form, yeah.
Now, what Muslims have that's semi-unique there is they also have a reverence for a Blessed Mother. Now, where that comes from, that's why there's a school of thought that Islam is a heresy of Catholicism. So there's a school of thought that says that. And again,
yeah,
I'm
I
not
don't
an
know if I believe
expert on this particular thing, guys. I mean, I know more than, say, the average person off the street, but I don't claim to be an expert on all this Muslim dynamic. I just say my own self. Like when I'm looking at most Catholics don't understand what we teach about the Trinity, I'm not really worried what Muslims think about it, right? So and so it's no offense to them, but we all have our gifts. Like who's that? Oh, he's such a smart guy. Ibrahim's his last name. Norm knows who I mean because Norm and I have talked about him. If Norm's still on, you know his name. Raymond Ibrahim, is that the name? Spelled with an I, Ibrahim.
Ibrahim.
Yeah, well, if Norm's still on air, then Norm, you can stick it in the comment because Norm and I talked about it.
I would just say this: is that like, all right? So because again, it's like the Hasidic Jews.
There's a couple guys that are really, really, really knowledgeable about Islam that are Christian apologists. There's that, and there's that guy. It's called like Apologetics Now or something.
Oh, Sam Mahmood. Yeah.
There's him, but there's like
great.
three
Sam
big
Shmoon,
guys.
Shmoon.
There's Sam Ahmoud or whatever. There's
Sam Shmoon.
Raymond Ibrahim, if I'm pronouncing his name right. And I think the guy's name is Dave something, but he's his channel is called Apologetic something, and he always likes to go on about Muhammad visiting the men from Pakistan for a long evening of intimacy. But anyway, that causes all kinds of kerfuffle. So we're not going to get into that today here, folks. You know what? If we're going to get banned, if Felix and I are going to get banned, let it be for something that's organically obnoxious from Felix and I. We don't want to get banned for repeating the obnoxiousness of others.
No, yeah, but I would say I agree. At least I agree 100% with the fact is like it's not enough. You know what I mean? To just kind of think Jesus was a good. I understand that. That Jesus was just a prophet or whatever.
Well, you have a softer spot than I do. That's okay, Felix. And in fact, you're not alone. There's a lot of trads that think exactly like you. It's not. Yeah, this is a matter of personal. Charism, right? Like I have two friends. I had I lived in Oregon for a time, and it was great. I had this coffee shop I went to every day, and I really enjoyed it because it was such a nice mix of people. I met all kinds of people, and I know this will surprise some of you, but I consider myself quite the introvert, which all my friends laugh at me because you're not an introvert, but I am kind of, right? Like, I mean, I'm not here on air. I don't mind, and I don't mind speaking in front of people. I'm fine that way. But if you stick me in, like, let's say I'm in Lake Close, so in other words, I have no reason to be there, or I just sort of like, it's not for a business purpose, it's not for a church purpose, and I'm just in a regular social function. I'm very quiet. I go off to the side. If I don't know anybody, I have no burning desire to be a social butterfly in that context, and I'm perfectly happy just to think and drink my coffee and do whatever I got to do. And so anyway, this coffee shop was neat because even with me being kind of a wallflower, I met all these kinds of neat people. One of them was a professor of Muslim poetry. And one of them was a Jewish Cohen, a priest, a Jewish priest of Levi. And I find these guys are fascinating to talk to. And it was all mutual respect. And we don't have to agree with everybody and, all our various religious things, but everybody treated each other respectfully. And I look forward to seeing them. I look forward to having coffee with them. I don't, so I'm friendly in that respect. I've also had acquaintances that were secular Muslims who have since converted to more zealous Muslims. And in one case, they had to say, we can't keep in regular contact with you because your social media with you might put you in danger. Well, what kind of religion are you in if your social media with me is going to put me in danger? I'm not intentionally obnoxious to Muslims. All I am saying is that I'm very clear of what is Christianity, and Christianity does not include their notion of God, in my opinion. In my theological opinion, I do not believe what Vatican II taught that we're all just one great big happy Abrahamic family. I don't think that means you have to hate anybody. I just said I enjoyed visiting the Muslim professor at the coffee shop. It's great.
Sure.
I'm not trying, I mean, in that setting, it's perfectly fine, and there was a mutual respect, and that's great. But if you ask me, oh, do you want your whole town to be full of Muslim law and all this? No, there's a place for that. It's called a Muslim country, right?
That's right.
So
that's right.
That's my political and anthropological view. It's also my theological view. I believe that every baptized Christian has a moral duty. We'll see what the kitty thinks. Where is she? Oh, there you are. Anyway, I think you have a moral duty.
Right.
That is the sister. I think I mentioned that one show before. That is the biological sister of the little cat that's on our end screen. And that's
but
anyway, but the thing is that and now she's deciding that she wants to, when they give you hugs a cat way, they just sort of silly cat. Okay. Anyway, no, but what I'm saying is that I believe it's the duty of the baptized to establish the social kingship of Christ, so that we don't do that by the sword. You use the sword for defense. You don't use the sword to be, Book of Joshua notwithstanding, in certain instances where, God commands you to do stuff. The reality of it is that we just want our own society built, the social kingship of Christ. So, and that's going to be done through persuasion, through large families, large young families, and making a persuasive case so that people want to be Christian. And right now, Christianity is sold in such a bland way. I mean, why would you want to be Christian?
Why would you want to be Christian?
Postmodern Christianity is nothing that a martyr would give their child and their own life up to the lions for. So whatever we had at Christianity, we've lost a lot of it. Right? So hopefully we restore it again, if it's God's will, and we go along with it. But we know that the church will appear to be destroyed near the end. So that's what even the 1990s Catechism agrees to, that the church is not going to progress to some big cultural ascendancy. The fake church, the ape church will. The ape church will be the one new world religion of the New World Order. Oh, I said it. New World Gathering. We got flagged now. We're gonna get flagged. Well, Mark Carney can say it. Mark Carney can say it numerous times in his speeches, the Prime Minister of Canada. But if I say it, we're gonna get flagged.
That's it. So, yeah, I mean, I think they've kind of softened on that, where we can talk about it again, like even certain topics. I'm gonna
get the YouTube little wiki tablet though. It's a conspiracy theory, blah blah blah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we'll definitely, hopefully we'll earn one of those soon enough.
I mean, what can I say? If the director of the WEF himself, one of the directors himself, uses the terminology, why is it a conspiracy theory?
Why is it a conspiracy theory? No, yeah, it's just they don't want us talking about it. That's all it is.
Apparently.
It's not even, yeah. Let me see. Our Father Haga says from 7th century AD to about 9th century, there's a massive gap in history.
Right.
Remember, I've talked to you about, like, some people say that those years were
they were just erased,
or that they were thrown in there, that they don't really exist. So it actually went from 7th to 9th century. And that was like there was like a big conspiracy theory that I heard, that we're actually in like the age where Jesus is about to come back, as opposed to the tribulation, like that we're lied to about our calendar, because that Jesus came and established the church, established everything. That's why we have everything, that's why we have the church as it is today. And we're at the period of right before his return, where he comes and throws the devil in the pit, for eternity and all this stuff. So, like, I always thought that was an interesting theory. And then the only reason I'm repeating it is because of what Father Haga just said here. It's like, I wonder if you heard anything.
There's some, sorry, it's off the topic. If you guys came in, and it's funny, I always like to tell this story that one day someone just signed on in the middle of the live stream, and we were talking about one of my rabbit holes that was nothing on the topic, and someone said, are you going to talk about blah, 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 whatever the topic was? And we all just sort of laughed. It's like, oh boy, we end up with talking about crazy things apart from the, but it's kind of like, if you guys don't sort of stick on topic, we're going to go with you, right? So, but there's this weird theory that CERN, I know I'm going to sound crazy, and I don't believe it. I'm just telling you what the story is. Okay. I'm going to pull an AJ on the Y-Files. I don't believe in this. I'm just telling you the story.
Just repeat.
So apparently the CERN, doing whatever one of their experiments, just hopped us over 1/2 notch to they're to an alternate universe, and so they're trying to use that as explaining all these weird discrepancies that we never used to have in people's memory and what's recorded. So it's kind of weird. Like it's just one of these things. It's just silly. Of course, the people that are pro simulation theory, they love all of that. It was just a bad patch or something to the simulation, right?
Yeah, no, totally. All right, let me see. Father Higgins, I repeat, it's
right.
Dignitas Infinita.
I love your take on it. You know what? I haven't written my Substack. I think that's going to come out. There's one that's coming out 6 tomorrow morning, but that was already written long ago. And but I'm thinking I might bump Friday's episode or Friday's Substack to talk about this, and I should incorporate your idea. I think that would be a good thing, and I should put in the comments. Thanks to my friend Archbishop Haygood.
Yeah.
Oh, it's free on Kindle. Oh, look at Gene. Look at Gene.
Yeah.
Bang on.
Yeah.
Hey, so if it's free on Kindle, you guys all get it.
Yeah. And
Felix and I should read it like a radio show. That'd be fun.
I'm telling you. Yeah. Well, at least do the commentary, or
I wonder how many actors it would need. I should ask. We should haul up Grok or something and say how many characters, so many voice actors will we need. We'll just get a bunch of them.
Yeah. I mean, we could always just kind of do our own like impressions and stuff. But I'm pretty sure we could just hear it and comment on it, because I'm almost positive it's for free on audio on YouTube. Like you could just look it up and get the audiobook on YouTube for free. Father Higgins said, in my case, I was raised by people who were born in that time frame, and so it's kind of built into my brain. All right,
like time travelers from the 6th century?
Yeah, right.
I'm just treating you.
I know. I'm trying. I think he left, actually, Father Higgins. He had to go.
Okay, that's fine.
I've read a little further
we keep him up too late. He's got early mornings.
Oh, I know, right? Gene says, I recently acquired a 15-decade rosary. It's an experience to behold. I pray it once a week. Takes about an hour and a half.
Gene. Yeah.
Really, an hour and a half. 15 decades. I didn't even know they made those things. And then it's funny because I read ahead a little bit. I try to read ahead to see what's coming down the pike.
I used to never leave the house without my rosary, and I got tired of them always breaking. And then someone gave me one with like a parachute cord on it, and that was good for a while. And then I misplaced that, and then it just sort of, again, your routines and everything change as your job and your life and your travels change. And so now I squeeze my fingers on the steering wheel, right? I do a decade at a time, or I just sort of figured, well, if I ever end up in the clink for being Catholic, they can't. Well, I suppose they can't chop off my hands, right? I guess, but
yeah. But even then,
I have my rosary. But that's beautiful. Yeah. That's fantastic. That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, and now it's gonna bring me down this rabbit hole. I didn't know they made a single decade rosary. I didn't know that this was a thing. I was like,
yeah, you wear them. So the single decade ones are sometimes you see them as little rings, and they have got little notches, and some of them look like little thin wedding rings with little studs on them, and some of them are bigger with a big cross, and then they're kind of like big studs
like
on them.
Bracelet, right? Yeah,
yeah. There's all kinds of different ways. Like
those are cool.
But yeah. It's a lot of people take it on, especially when they retire too. They'll like 15 decades a day. That's a beautiful devotion. And I would say too, like if people are like, there's different ways you can do it. Like the thing is, so some days you're a little more energetic than others. So, if you sort of try to put that 15 decades to God, you can just, you can sort of slip it in and out of the mystery. But there are days like when I pray a decade. One of the reasons why I don't like public rosary is I'm always scared I'm either going to add or subtract one, because I sometimes get caught up in mystery. And for the for me, the main prayers I put in my mind's eye, I put myself in the mystery of the scene. So there's different ways of praying the rosary. There's not, you get some people freaking out. Oh, you didn't say this prayer, you didn't say that prayer, whatever. Everybody seems to have a different way. But the thing is that, especially if you're praying it alone, you can do it. There are some days you can take, Gene could take 3 hours if he wanted to, right? Or maybe there's a day that he's got something planned and he could whiz right through them, but it's just not really doing the meditations, but, doing the prayer so he could say that he did it to himself and God. And that's beautiful. 15 decades. Wonderful. Yeah, it's a great little devotion to pick up. And I'd say too, if we get some people on that's watching this and you're not in the habit of prayer yet, you don't want to, like, no one runs a marathon with 1 day notice, right? Except maybe the first one, right, where he died after he ran it. What you do, you want to build up. It's what happens. Sometimes people get a conversion, or they get sort of like they fall in love with God again. So they've been maybe Catholic all their life, or they're Presbyterian or something, and then they can, they have sort of a born again experience, and I even call it like born again Catholic experience, whatever. And they feel the Holy Ghost really womp them, or Blessed Mother really womp them, and they're like, I'm gung ho Catholic now. I'm going to daily mass. I'm going to say all my rosaries every day. I'm going to do all, And the thing is that that's great. You'll never get me discouraging you from prayer. But what I'm saying is, like, if you end up with some sort of conversion experience, my strongest advice is scale up, do stuff regular, establish a habit. It takes 20 days to establish a habit. Scale up to the big stuff. Now, some people are the opposite. It's kind of funny. I don't doubt there'll be a comment. Oh, Mikkel, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm all or nothing. And whatever. Okay, that's fine.
Right,
You're
right.
the exception.
Okay.
Most people, it's kind of like exercise. You don't start with a 3-hour workout. You start with a good 15 minutes, and then 20 minutes, and a half hour, and then you do whatever you're going to do with your running and your weights and your all that kind of stuff. So, and sometimes prayer is kind of like the gym. You go kicking and screaming, but once you're there, you're so happy you're there, right? So that's not an uncommon experience either. Duty will carry you when love is weak. So there's a quote from Father Michael. Duty will carry you when love falls weak.
Oh, it's actually a beautiful quote.
I'm going to put that on a cup.
I'm good. Yeah, Father Higgins says, I'm good on a whole brain implant. Yeah, me too. Me too. I don't care how. I don't care if it gives me wizard powers. I don't want it. Yeah, and it's weird because as a kid, it sounds awesome, especially when you see it in like sci-fi stuff. And I'm like, okay, I can dig
until the cooling system goes.
So the cool, yeah, right. And it burns a hole right in your brain because it overheats. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, thank you, but no, thank you.
Computing generates a lot of heat, folks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're up in Canada or Alaska and you run like a crypto farm, you don't need a heater. You just run those computers.
They actually use them as heaters. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is really cool. All right.
Not so much in Florida, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, right. Sounds painful to say the least. The brain implant. Yeah, nah, thanks, but no thanks.
More painful than listening to a modern nun go on about the goddess.
Now, you know what? Before we get to this one right here, gaming. Imagine, because I'm a big gamer, playing online against someone who doesn't need a controller. They're just playing with their mind.
Yeah. So some of you guys know I think I mentioned it before too. Like I'm a pilot. I haven't flown in a number of years, and I'm getting my license transferred down here, hopefully by the end of June. And I'll probably just do enough to keep current, right? Are you going to go flying with me, Kitty? But anyway, but the thing is that a simulator like Microsoft Flight Simulator or something, it's about 80% of the experience. It's not really 100% experience, but 80% experience. And certainly compared to cost, it's it's not
good trade-off.
But here's the thing, for people that are into simulation, and I don't have the resources to buy such a thing, but there's a VR headset that's around probably the $1,400 mark. And I've seen videos of these guys, and it looks real. And I saw this guy, he was flying like a World War II warbird. and he was describing that the thing that really blew his mind away is he says all the switches are exactly where you'd expect them to be in the real world. And he said when you look out at the wing, he said it's actually looks like the right size and everything. And he says so. He said like obviously you're just sitting in a desk chair, but all of the graphics and the three-dimensional motion of it, and since your visual system also accounts for your balance and stuff, you actually even feel some of the flight movement with it. So it is kind of neat. It's a neat tech. I mean, especially if so if and when I ever have a retirement age, right? My boss went to 92, so I don't know.
Yeah, right. Hey,
I hope that I've got someone better than me to replace me. I don't mean to say that I'm such a wonderful. I just mean you want to leave the place better than you found it, right? So hopefully I can retire at a normal clergy age. And but yeah, I could see some of my time after my coffee flying these things in VR. I'm sure they're going to be really good in 20 years.
Oh well, I see. So I've done a similar VR thing with where I was flying a like World War II, some World War II stuff. You have to learn how to take off. It is really cool. And like to me, I think that's the best VR is the one that where you can just sit at your desk. I hate the ones where you have to like map your room and walk around, but the other one I played that was similar.
Yeah, no, I mean, so the hardcore flight simulator fans, like I know this guy, he's a retired Air Force pilot. He's like 66 years old, and he's got the money to invest in it. But anyway, he's got like every switch. You can buy all the modules so that it's actually like the fighter plane at your desk. Right?
Yeah,
so all the switches are in the right place and all this kind of stuff.
That's so cool.
So you can put on that helmet, and then when you touch the switches, they're actually where they would be
right there.
To fly your plane. So this guy used to fly A-10s and F-16. So that's a great way to spend your retirement. You're not in trouble, and your wife doesn't have to worry about you spending lots of money, or she knows where you are. You're just in your garage with your F-16.
With your F-16, right? And
there's worse places to spend a retirement.
I want that.
Some people prefer fishing. I get it, but if you're an old pilot, you're not hurting anybody in the simulator.
Yeah,
something
right.
To be said for it.
Yeah, right. No, I think that's really, really cool. All right, let me see. Father Haga says side tangent question. Yes. Do y'all have an Ember Day tomorrow?
So Ember Days, the Pentecost Ember, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Just like you probably, Father.
Do we have daily mass?
But you know what's funny? What's funny about that? No, we don't have anybody up there where Felix is. So I come up. I drive a fair bit to get to Felix on Sunday, but we're gonna have to get you hopefully a daily mass priest is up there soon. Hopefully the next couple months.
Okay.
But so it's funny because the pre-55 and the 62 are normally synced with schedules, but now Father Martin will be able to tell me right away. There's actually, it's like once every 3 years or something. We've got a week difference in one of the embers. So maybe actually Monsignor probably knows when that occurs. So I don't recall right now what makes that happen.
All right, let me see. Norm says praying the rosary is a supreme joy in my life. It has been so for more than a couple of decades since the early days of my conversion.
Absolutely awesome. Yeah. The thing I love about it, Norm, is that it just surprises so many people. Like for me, when you introduce someone to the rosary, I always love hearing the story of how people are touched by it and surprised by it, because see, from the outside it looks just like I remember my grandmother. Okay, so I'm 4 years old, first time I encounter the rosary. I'm 4 years old and I'm looking at my grandmother and she's got these beads in her hand. She's on her knees at their bed and she's doing this. She's saying the prayers, right? But all I hear is so it's another family joke, because I wasn't brought up church. I'd go home and I'd do this. And Mom would go, "What are you doing?" And I would be like, "Oh, I'm praying." And then we're just sort of like, "What?"
What?
Well, because that's what I was,
that's what you understood.
I had a Christian, friendly home, but I wasn't brought up that way, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, whenever we would stay over there a couple times a year, and always New Year's. My parents would go out New Year's Eve, and I still have fond memories of watching the ball, Dick Clark's ball, go down in New York.
Yeah.
And and it was an hour time difference from where I was. But anyway, the ball would go down,
Still
and
cool.
and
Yeah.
I'd be there for her prayers, and I'd be there in the morning. And the other thing that she used to do, not that you guys need to know all this, but it's just kind of funny. We got to have sugar cereal. So my mother never allowed sugar cereal, but when we would stay over at my grandmother's, we got Lucky Charms or something like that. And so it was always that was
so
allowed
cool.
when we were over at my grandmother's.
Yeah, right. It's funny, like what we would consider, and I just have to say, I have to confess this. It's like, it's funny, like how like God talks to you or to me personally, because I totally fell off on my rosary this week, and I'm just seeing all these comments here that are just rosary centered, like just like punching me in the face, like each one, and it's just like, oh, the rosary's so beautiful. It's so free. I was like, I know this stuff. I know. And like, because I think I found like 2 or 3 days without doing it.
Well, if you notice in the intro, the Blessed Mother appears twice. You know,
yes.
So our Blessed Mother is the mother of the church and also mother of priests in a particular way. And, she leads us to our Lord Jesus. And I love it when I encounter somebody who is of the Protestant tradition who learns to love our Blessed Mother, right? Because they were taught the Catholics worship her or stuff like that. And then when they understand our Blessed Mother and they understand her as a living chalice, a living tabernacle, and how she leads us to our Lord, it's neat. I always love those stories. It's like when you encounter somebody who falls in love with God and they're an acquaintance of yours and they share that, it's like you yourself are getting to experience your own conversion back again. Because especially if you end up clergy, guess what? It's our bread and butter, right? So my temptation, and different clergy have different temptations, but my temptation is to intellectualize too much, right? And every once in a while I'll write something and I think, oh my goodness, people, unless you're a real egghead, you're not going to like this. And it's like, so, that's why I found value in things like the Chronicles of Narnia and also the Lives of the Saints. And Chronicles of Narnia are fiction, allegorical. Lives of the Saints, of course, are not. But those stories sort of access the heart. And so especially if you guys tend to, and a lot of traditionals do, we tend to value the intellectual a lot. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's a balance, right? The intellect is, you aren't saved through your intellect. Our intellect is but a speck compared to anything that God can do. But our love, right? That accesses sort of a greater journey, and the rosary can be a great act of love. And anyway, I'm rambling, but
no, you're not, Father. And it again, it's like I almost feel like this episode was almost made for me, but I was just having this like inner monologue conversation today. It's like I feel like my intellectual curiosity for the Bible, I don't want to say it's spent, but I mean, I've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, I know it's real. I know it's for everything that comes like, oh, wow, that's interesting. But at this point, there's really nothing you can show me to shake my faith. And like everything they said, I was like, yeah, I know. Yeah. Shroud of Turin is real. I was like, okay, yes, I know. And then, you know what I mean? Like it just keeps going. So I feel like my intellectual relationship is kind of, it's now about the and I like, I gotta talk to you about this often, but I feel like I had this almost revelation, a personal revelation, where it was like, I have to be a lot more strict and hard on myself on obedience and things like that. And
the big thing that's transformational for many is just that it's so simple, but okay. So virtue is habit. So, and that's just it. And like I say, duty carries you when love fails. So, there are days when you're going to have boredom with spiritual things. That's normal. Aceta. It's a spiritual malady. And ACEDIA, I believe is how you spell it. And, so especially if you're like a daily mass attender and you pray every day and there are these little dry patches you have that is almost like a boredom with spiritual things. And the devil's so smart. He gets at us in everything. So you want to be, one of the things to protect yourself is you have some pretty strict routines of when you do your prayers, when you do, and for a working man like yourself, Felix, like really what you promised God, my recommendation is that morning offering, the evening examen, and then anything else you can fit in is great, but you don't promise God to do it. You just say, I'm going to do my best to do it, Lord, but I promise you I'm going to do that morning offering and that evening examen. And then I'm going to do my best to get a whole rosary in every day. And then your next level up after that, folks, is a half-hour mental prayer. All right. So if you can do morning offering, evening examen, a rosary, and a half-hour mental prayer, and then obviously if you can go to daily mass, it's wonderful. But if you do that, and there's all kinds of other things you can add, but again, it depends on your life circumstance, your duties. So there was I think it was Saint Therese, and you guys can fact check me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Saint Therese who said sometimes you have to leave God at the altar to find him in your housework or something to that effect, right? So one of the saints said that anyway. So here's the thing: you got to do your duty. You can't use prayer as an excuse to shirk the duties that they're necessary for your state in life. But that said, I would say to especially lay people, especially that are busy, keep your promises very manageable. Your promise should be that morning offering, evening examen, and your other thing to God is, I'm going to do my best rosary. I'm going to work up to half-hour mental prayer. And with that, you start at 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour. Like you work up to it. 20 days habit, and then you level it up. And if you do that, great things will happen. Because if you do a rosary and 30 minutes of mental prayer, you will find, where do you talk to God? You talk to God at your examen. That's when you can talk to him. Lord, I praise you for this. Lord, I messed up here. You go to sleep, right? But your mental prayer and your rosary can be you in his presence, right? The mysteries, the scriptural mysteries of the rosary. And then the mental prayer is just you sitting in front of God. That you're not talking to him. You're listening to him. And for people that find it hard to sit still, that takes practice. It takes practice. So you start. That's why you start slow. And then once you have about 20 days, you're gonna find it'll just whiz. You're like, where did that half hour go? Like if you don't even set an alarm, you're gonna blow through it because you're just going to be in the presence of God. And again, there's different ways you can do that with a mental prayer. We might do a little series on it. We won't do it in live stream, but I should do something on that. Father Martin already has something on Restless Heart Media, I'm sure. And but maybe I should do something from a more secular perspective. And you build that habit, and it's amazing.
Yeah, no, 100%. All right, now let me see. Swagta says, yeah, that's what this says. The movie Gamer is sort of a direct reflection of how evil Neuralink could get.
So I don't know that movie. Is it? Swag, if you're still online here, can you tell us whether it's, you're telling us it's a good reflection, but is it a good movie? Is it something we should see? Or is it kind of like Gattaca? It's a movie we won't really like, but we should watch it because it has good connections? Or, I'd be interested in your opinion on that.
Yeah. Well, I can give you a brief synopsis of the movie, but basically it's like, prisoners are now kind of like are now controlled by gamers through like a Neuralink thing. They play like they're playing like a first person shooter with a prisoner, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like people who have like a life sentence.
So it's like being a guest on The View?
Say, yeah, kind of sort of, but all the time now, right? No, but I think Gerard Butler plays a prisoner, and then like this kid controls him, and that's what it is.
Right.
From what I understand, it's a decent movie. It's not great. It's not Shakespeare. It's more for like teenagers, 13, 14-year-olds. You know what I mean? And it came out in like mid 2000s, 2008, around there. Gene Malloy says, do you have a take on Meditations for All the Days of the Year by Reverend M. Hammond, SS from 1804?
No, but what a great idea. Like, actually, you know what? I think you're the second person that has mentioned that. So you know what? I should get off my butt. Did you? No. So Gene, if you're still online too, did you get that? Well, I should check, see if if a basic version's available online. But you're the second person that mentioned that, and I should look at that, because you know what? In one of my more zealous ideas, I thought, well, maybe I should write a little daily meditation book. And then I found out there was lots of better ones that I could make, and so this is probably one of those. So yeah, that's a great idea. There's a nice little set of reflections on the readings of the Divine Office too that I have here, which is good because of course priests go through it, and it just helps make that a little bit more alive for us too. But I'm actually going to stick it in my computer right now, and I will see.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. From 1804, so it's probably legit, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if I can copy this right off Gene's thing. I got this little. Oh, I went to go to copy you, and it says delete comment, put user in timeout, and ban user. No, we don't want to. But anyway, yeah, I should go back. So here, jeepers,
check that out. I
started. Yeah, I want to write it down, and I'm just like, how do I write this down? Okay, hang on here. Meditations. Yeah. Where is he? Oh, did I take him off? No. Meditations of all the days of the year. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So those kind of things I like, right? That's really good because especially most of them are of course focused on the readings of the day and the like, and of course that works if you're using a traditional calendar. That's good.
Yeah.
So let's whip through some more because we still have some more comments. Felix, we actually got a.
We have a nice little.
I like to answer everybody I can.
Yeah. No, and Father Hagen's still with us, so that's good. I think he said he was going to go.
Good.
But
Poor Father, we're keeping you up to date.
All right, so I like this comment. There is a small book, The Scandal of the Incarnation, Irenaeus Against the Heresies. It really provides a terrific summation of arguments against Gnosticism, which I had been into for a number of years. And wow, that's awesome, Norm.
Yeah, wow, so Father. Gnosticism, for those of you who don't know, Gnosticism is sort of the foundation of a lot of the modern New Age, right? Like none of that stuff is really new. It's like when people came out with that Da Vinci Code and stuff like that, like Dan Brown or whatever his name is, like they thought, oh, this is edgy, and it's not edgy. This is old stuff, right? It's just rewarmed for Freemasonry. Well, like a lot of the New Age is rewarmed Gnosticism, so that doesn't mean we shouldn't know about how to answer it. So that's good, Norm.
Yeah, no, for sure. And his comment here, like this actually, this is very interesting. He goes, I can vouch for the fact of how misleading, evil, and a hard trap Gnosticism is to get out of. Much of the evil of today relates to a Gnostic and relativistic bent in consciousness.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the temptations that we can have, right, is in both tradition and in the charismatic movement is this notion, because like a lot of people don't know what we know, right? So there's a temptation. The old devil tries to even backdoor Gnosticism into us, so we got to be aware. So it's by studying this stuff, it arms you against that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it scares me sometimes because like this is how it gets me. It's like I would have those moments. I was like, what if that's true? And we're falling into because here's the problem with Gnosticism. It really paints the Lord as, first off, not the true Lord. He's actually like a trickster almost. Yeah. And it gets really, really dark, and it gets really weird. And if you believe that, I think Norm's comment is so spot on. That's a tough one to break. That's a tough trap to break out of.
Absolutely. Because you believe there's a whole bunch of YouTube channels that are very Gnostic, right? The secrets the Bible doesn't tell you and all this kind of stuff. And then they go into
the Omega Code.
Yeah. And of course, all the pseudographa, the writings that existed in the early times that were not considered part of the canon are often used to fuel some of this stuff. So,
you
know what it's setting up for? Like somebody with the old CRISPR thing coming in and saying, I'm a little green man and Jesus was one of us and blah, blah, blah. One of the
that's what it's going to come down to.
Vectors of apostasy is saying that our Lord was an alien, and they'll probably borrow heavily from some of the Gnostic stuff and to back it up.
Project Bluebeam, right? When behold, I come from the stars.
That's not Project Roof Beam that Joe
No.
Biden liked. That wasn't. Okay, sorry. I'm just a little offside. I admit. Sorry.
Yeah,
We
right.
should have a sound effect for when I go offside too.
Are you professional or not?
Right. Exactly.
All right. No, let me see. Kathleen says,
Good
says,
night, Kathy.
Good night, Kathy. Always good to see you. Sizall says the church that doesn't protect the vulnerable can never call themselves Christian.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what
Beautiful.
broke my heart, Sizzle, is hearing the stories of our brothers and sisters in Nigeria, and only recently has there been any help given them at all. And the church, when it was asked to help them, they said, "Oh well, it's just a political dispute, not a religious dispute." Well, tell that to the poor mom that's facing a machete, right? So,
yeah.
Here's the thing: like, it's so weird to me. Like, the left goes on about racism all the time, but yet when there's tragedy that happens in certain countries, they're not concerned about them. They're not concerned about the Nigerians.
Yeah,
but if it's
like
Ukraine, everybody's concerned. And I mean, I'm not against Ukrainians. I'm just saying, like, to me, there's a double standard there.
No,
and
of course.
Me, yeah. Oh, sorry, Felix, you were going to say something.
No. It's a Black Lives Matter. No, I was actually just I'm kind of echoing what you were saying. Black Lives Matter. That was such a big movement. Now we are in Nigeria. It's just
they'll burn down Atlanta or whatever, right? They'll burn down Minnesota. But when their brothers and sisters are being macheted, there's no protest or outrage.
Yeah. No, nothing. Again, it's like you got Saint, and I say that Saint Floyd, right? Saint George Floyd, who was putting knives against pregnant women, and then gets a whole riot and almost all of that going on, and then yes, this right here happening in Nigeria. And of course, what was going on, I think, with Johannesburg, that area, which I think is still going on. It's absolutely just appalling. And Norm says the way I was saved from the Gnostic trap were Christian relatives just bringing to my awareness all the many contradictions in my views. I fought against seeing. Fortunately, God and common sense. That's how it works. Right, Father?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking, I was off in my own little world there, Felix, for just a second. I was thinking, I really have to get a Zoom call with Norm someday because, Norm is in one of our churches that's under me, but he's on the other side of the state. And we met once, but in person. But I really, really, really think you have stuff that can help me help other people, right? So if I can kind of harness some of Norm's stories, it would be nice. I'd like to do a series sort of apologetics, but not apologetics like you see on YouTube, not apologetics like I'm smart, you guys are stupid. And look, I'm going to prove to you with all these references, I'm smart, you're stupid. I don't want it like that. I want it like Norm's conversion went. I want to be able to do apologetics that teaches people how to ask the right questions, teaches them what to pray for, teaches them here's how to win people back. Right.
Yeah.
And I think Norm has some experience that I don't have. Right. So I have experience that you guys don't have. You guys have experience I don't have. And that would be a worthy project for us to look at doing and give people free access to. So there's the other thing. I just, one of my pet peeves is that, you got to be so careful when you're talking about things of faith because God gave us this freely. Right. And there was a Catholic group that was like charging $15 a month. So to hear one of their leaders pray, it's like, what? It's like, you can't be doing it. So on the other hand, of course, all these apostolates need resources. I've been online now, over 10 years. I've never had a link. The one time I ever asked for any fundraising was for the seminary roof.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So that was a one time. And, but the thing is that, it's funny because what I think, what I may do down the road is, you could put all this free material and then there's a way you can put it that it's free, but if you want to donate, pay me what you think it's worth and we'll make sure the resources go in the right place. So I think that might be a model down the road. But even if I do that, I'm going to get grifter. It's like, dude, I've been on the internet for 10 years. I've never asked for a thing except for my roof once. But anyway,
yeah,
no, but
yeah.
but the thing is, what I'm getting at is, I get on a rabbit hole. The we've got to make sure all these resources are freely available to people. Like that there's no paywall, there's no we've got to make sure that we're helping. Like, because I mean, again, I get a little eggheady. I'll fight against what Leo said and stuff like that. I'll make my argument, but at the end of the day, yes, it's good to be armed with that information, but it's more important that we win souls to our Lord and win them back. Bring these stray little lambs, like I say, to the Good Shepherd. So, yeah. So I'm probably going to be reaching out to you, Norm. Norm emails, and we email back and forth. But yeah, I'm thinking you're an untapped resource. You could help me with souls. So so yeah, we'll be in touch the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and Norm, like mine is kind of similar, except it wasn't Gnosticism. I was into like occult stuff. I was bad. I was really bad as much
You're
younger.
An untapped resource, Felix. I should be talking to you about this stuff.
Yeah, I know, right? But we've spoken on this stuff, and I think
we have, but like, not in that theme, not in a direct thing. Okay, Felix, how do I get somebody out of that?
Oh, how to get someone out of it? Yeah, that's tough, right?
Yeah, because I have my own opinions, but I think I should be talking to people like you about that. I should be talking about Norm about Gnosticism. I should talk to people that have actually done it out of there, right?
It's hard because especially when you get into like occult and Satanism and stuff like that, it feeds your ego. So it's so easy to just, oh, please, yes, I'm my own God. Oh, okay, like that's very hard. Once you start planting seeds like that into someone and they start believing that,
yep, absolutely.
It's too attractive to just let go. Let me see.
And you invest a lot of time in it, right? Like, I mean, people invest a lot of time in their little, sojourns, right?
Yeah. And again, luckily, like I shook all of that stuff off,
Sure.
But it is, again, this is what we were kind of taught this, at least my generation. I feel like we were all pushed to this, some sort of either new age religion or even witchcraft, or we're just pushed into that. And again, I went to Catholic school, which makes it even worse. I almost feel like if I didn't go to Catholic school and if I didn't like mingle with these people, I would have stayed away from that stuff, and I probably would have still been in church.
Do you know the only people that have ever mentioned the goddess to me was a Catholic nun and a Lutheran minister?
Come on.
Isn't that wild?
What are we doing?
In all my travels and all the different jobs I did in my younger years, and exposed to New Agers and witches and everything else, I'm sure, the only people that ever went on about that crazy stuff were people actually within the fold of Christianity.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Yeah. And again, now it's like it's getting like this kind of ties in to back to the original theme, right? Because here we are, that's is that dignity or infinite dignity?
Infinity plus one.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, let me see. Oh yeah, the movie Excalibur was the best movie version. Yep, again, but it did have its own limits. It should have been a two-parter to flesh out the story sufficiently. It should have ended.
See, I know I watched it, guys, but I just don't. It all merges into all the other Arthurian stuff I've watched. Because remember, there was when Excalibur came out, plus or minus 2 years, there was a bunch of other like it was a clump of them.
Yeah.
So maybe that was the one that was really successful and everybody was copycatting. I don't know, but there was a flurry. Like these things kind of go in fads.
There was just a majesty towards them. Like it was taken so seriously, and it was Shakespearean. Yep. It was this version. Yeah, I agree with Norm. A two-parter would have been outstanding. Maybe even a three-parter where you get I don't know, but the movie probably should have ended with Arthur taking the sword out of the stone, and then you focus on the knights around. Maybe the second movie, and then again, third movie is the reunion of the knights around, because it all falls apart because of Lancelot, and so that's definitely that's definitely pretty interesting. But Excalibur, guys, if you haven't seen it, it is so good. Like it holds up
I've seen it, but
tremendously.
for the life of me, I can't remember the. I'm gonna have to look for clips or something, so it'll come back to me.
Yeah, and it's got like
I know I saw it. I know I remembered saying, "My goodness, there's all this Arthur stuff out all at once."
Yeah, and it's Christian. You know, there's a lot of Christian things. The most recent one was a Charlie Hunnam played King Arthur, and they stripped it out of all Christianity out of it.
Of course.
And
Right.
you know, it was.
Look what they did to Helen of Troy.
Oh, Helen of Detroit.
Someone I had to say it, didn't I? All right, come on, we better get through some comments, or we're already a little bit over, and I don't want anybody left out. They're all wanting to go to sleep.
Let me see. I'll skip some of these because he didn't say good. By the way, I
listened
to
David Wood. That's it. Norm remembered. So Norm, you know the story I'm talking about. The men of Val something.
Yeah.
You probably know. And anyway, so if you guys look up Apologetics Roadshow, there are some pretty crazy videos on that.
Yeah, I remember. Oh,
I shouldn't laugh, but I have to. That is Norm is absolutely right. It's pretty humorous. You know, you can't help but feel a little bad because it's like you are making fun of somebody else's. I mean, we don't like being made fun of, so you know, but still,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I remember.
I just don't know how a serious person who knows all this stuff can continue on. Right, it's kind of like the Francis thing, right? For me, like, I mean, the problem is I have a weird sense of humor. So you guys either like it or you don't. I mean, for those of you who stayed past 2 hours, you probably like it a little bit. But remember I told you about the drones that made the Francis head? And I said, you know, the Francis, it looked like he was going to munch St. Peter's.
Pac-Man.
I mean, I find that funny. Not all of you would. but it was kind of funny. It was a giant Francis head over Rome. I mean, if that didn't scare the wits out of you.
I tried not to choke in front of the. I had to mute the microphone. Yeah, no, that's pretty hilarious. Now with David, I remember he didn't wear like a coat that had the Quran on it because he was getting death threats. So he was like, oh, okay, well, you know, if they stab me, they're gonna have to stab through their holy book or whatever.
Oh, that's pretty clever.
It's clever.
He's a brave guy, right? He the stuff that he says, man, like, listen, I mean, I thought I was a little over the top. He's pretty, yeah. But, see, it's not my battle per se. Like for me, the common ground I have with seculars and people of other religions that are non-Islamic,
different fronts.
No Sharia and Christian compatible and Christians and Christian lands and Christian compatible faiths is what we should be encouraging. And if you just hold to that, that's all I have to say, right? But David Wood, man, he's I wouldn't mind meeting him. You know, there's a couple guys out there. You're just like, wow.
Well,
right? So
you know, like we will say. Well, I gotta point out that what is it? Jay Dyer and Andrew Wilson kind of spanked him on the debate stage pretty recently, and actually still they're.
What were they debating about?
With them. I think because I think it was
orthodoxy, probably
orthodoxy versus Catholicism.
Yeah.
But no, there was something else. There was
first of all, anybody who takes on Andrew Wilson better know what he's doing.
Yeah,
Andrew Wilson has a beautiful gift. You don't want to be on the business end of his gift. I would be very hesitant to debate Andrew Wilson. Not because I don't think that my arguments would stand. I would debate him in writing. But that guy
but that's kind of almost cheating. That's almost cheating. Like to do it by writing.
I mean, if the battle's truly about ideas, you could do it through writing.
You could do it through writing. That's true.
But I mean, he's got more than just knowledge. He's a smart guy. His theology, even in Orthodoxy, is wrong on a couple things. Now, see, if anyone clipped that, then I'm in trouble. He'll be like, well, make all what he's saying.
Here we go.
No, but it's true. I mean, I even looked it up, right? Like, I mean, because he was saying something, I thought, I'm pretty sure Orthodox don't believe that. And so, you know, but he's not a theologian, and he doesn't claim to be. He's an amateur. When I say amateur, I don't mean this pejoratively. He amateur
admits
in the sense that he's not formally trained philosopher, but he's he's greater than 99% of PhDs.
Yeah,
Like the guy
he's
is
a
truly
champion. Yeah, he's a champion.
true gift. You know, and so yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about his history. Whether one of his parents were Orthodox or he married into Orthodox or whether he got fed up with certain part of Christianity, but there's worse places to end than Orthodox. And at the end of the day, I view our disagreements with Orthodox as pretty minor compared to my debate with modernity.
Yeah.
So why would I fight against Andrew Wilson when we're really on the same side, right? And also, I would lose debating against Andrew Wilson. I can be the smartest guy in the world. That guy has a gift, right? So
yeah, right.
I mean,
yeah,
what I get a kick out of, and someone was giving him a hard time for, he has a course that you can buy that he teaches you sort of his debate technique. And I mean, you could learn it by watching Andrew Wilson videos.
Pretty much.
But the thing is that you know, here's the thing: the style of it fits YouTube, and it fits. I love watching him on Piers Morgan. I love it, and you know what I really love? I love the fact that all these people were crapping on his wife, and his wife's really bright too, right? So they're both.
Oh, Rachel, yeah,
yes, and they're both really smart. They're what do they call it? Autoedetic or whatever. They are self-educated, and they have a competence that exceeds most people with formal education, and they didn't have to spend all that money to get it. And they mop the floors regularly with academically credentialed people, and I cheer them. You know,
in fact,
and like I say, I do have my differences, but they're not. Like I say, why would I attack a brother?
Bigger fish to fry.
He's part of the restoration, as far as I'm concerned, right? What I call a restoration is, and that tent's bigger than just Catholics. It's bigger than just Christians, even. You know, you give me a devoted student of Marcus Aurelius, and you know, that's Christian compatible, or Aristotle. It's Christian compatible. It's a morality that will not offend the Christian, and the Christian is not offended by them. So it's they're compatible paths, and that's what I'm saying. You don't have to be a Christian, but you have to have a compatible path to live in a Christian civilization.
Yeah, for sure. And it was Rachel Wilson, Andrew Wilson's wife, who defeated David Wood first in a debate, actually. And then it's kind of spiraled from there. Yeah. Go down that rabbit hole. It's actually pretty. I have to.
Well, if you find links on that, I mean, I'll try to remember, but I would love to see that because, you know, here's the problem. Now, David Wood is a Roman Catholic.
You know, it's funny because I thought he was Protestant by the time I was done with the debate, watching the debate. Because when you said he was Catholic, no, I don't know. Okay,
I think here's the thing. It's a very hard job to be a Roman Catholic apologist in the 21st century. And the reason being is, you know, I have a joke about it. Don't you guys flame me. Okay, this is my humor. Okay, so this is the disclaimer. But there was a famous apologist named Jimmy Akin. Most of you know his name if you're Catholic. He's a very smart man. I don't have any personal disagreement or dislike or anything like that. I used to rely on his materials to help train me in apologetics, you know, versus non-denominationals and the like from the day. But I got a kick out of it because he started talking about space aliens all the time, and he has this show. It's like it's some sort of radio show where he talks about the paranormal and everything like that. And my joke was, you know, Catholic apologetics is such a horror show these days. It's so it's such a it puts you in such a spot. You're going to end up talking about aliens. And so so the reason why I said that is, imagine that you in the 1990s, like I did, was evangelizing Baptists and non-denominationals. And then along comes Francis and basically throws out everything we taught out the window. Our knees are cut out from under us. We have nothing to stand on. So anybody going against Rachel or Andrew Wilson, Catholic versus Orthodox, you're an idiot because you have no leg to stand on. Now, where do people like me sidestep? We're not direct authority under Leo, right? So we're a different beast altogether. Now, what he would say is, well, you're like Orthodox because you don't, you know. No, we're not exactly. So it's a very hard thing. It would be a very hard thing. We believe the Pope enjoys universal jurisdiction. So Rachel and Andrew would not. Okay. So we believe that the papacy, the patron office, has universal jurisdiction over the baptized, and Andrew and Rachel would not. But the problem is their observed data points is much stronger on the validation than ours as Catholics. Okay, and we're going to have to take the L. Francis ruined everything. Francis ruined everything. Francis and Leo, they've caused more conversions to Orthodox than any Orthodox saint, and that's just simply true. And so the only real argument we have is, and the one I say, if you're baptized in the West, you have a duty to fight for the West. So that's my answer to Andrew and Rachel. And you notice it's not against them. And in fact, they might even agree with me. I don't know. I don't know them.
Maybe.
But they might even say, there's something worthwhile in the Western tradition to try to restore and maintain. I'd like to think they do. If I ever get to meet one of them, I'll ask.
Yeah. There is,
Felix will book him on as a guest someday.
Yeah, or I wish, right?
You can do that
really
for
cool.
some serious day, like a big birthday or anniversary, Felix.
Yeah, right.
See if you can
get Andrew Wilson to come spank us in debates live.
Yeah, I don't know.
That'd be fun.
I don't know. I think I would just surrender and ask him to pull out his cigarette and get a beer with me and just talk about the crisis in Christendom, because it's like he is really amazing. I love his story. From robot repairman with something like, I don't know what he said, he had a grade 9 education or something. I don't know, something, and he's brilliant. And he confounds the fact that it just shows to show you that modern education is not what it claims to be. This man was very intelligent, self-taught, self-trained, and tries to be a faithful Christian man. And
I would ask him, I'm like, what if we did have him on, I'm like, what did you have to unlearn more than anything before you could learn? What did you have to unlearn, right? Because I'm wondering if he had a similar situation with us. Like, I feel like I almost had to unlearn everything that I learned in school with the exception of math. You know what I mean? Like, everything else is like now.
Well, let's get a catalog of some of our topical videos finally done. I'm working on them next 2 days, Felix. And if we get stuff out there, then who knows? Maybe we can at least find a friend of his. That actually might not be too hard, because between the two of us, we probably know somebody that knows him. But I mean, it would be interesting, because if you get him to look at one, because actually what would be interesting is your questions for him. So we'd work on them together. But yeah, that would be kind of neat. And maybe he'd be willing to go forward and just say, we're going to agree to disagree on the Catholic Orthodox thing for the purpose, but we've got a common enemy.
Yeah, he will. He has gone on other shows to just chill and talk. Like, he's not like, he's not just going to debate.
We're fans. Well, but you know what? I don't know whether he'd like that. He kind of likes the banter, but no, we're not going to kiss his butt either. Pardon my language or image, but the thing is that I'm a fan. I admire him. And now the thing is that I can't watch 3 hours of him on the whatever podcast, right? I mean, I couldn't.
No.
To me, okay, that man. One of the things, if I had a beer with him, and it was just he and I. Well, no, see, I'm telling the world this, but that's fine. If I was to tell him what I am so amazed about with him, his patience. Like, I couldn't do what he does. Like these poor sweet children of God, right? But oh my goodness, like some of them are like, oh my goodness, like Andrew,
so lost.
How do you not totally freak? Like, I would just be face palming through the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And especially when the bird hands ladies start going and stuff. Like, oh, Andrew, how do you not? How do you keep? And remember when that crazy woman said she was scared for her physical safety? And poor Andrew, like, what is this?
He just laughs it off after a while, like, which I think is genius.
Did he end up suing her? Do you know who I mean?
I know what you mean, but I don't know. I don't know the lawsuit.
We should finish the comments actually, but
thank
you.
Right? We're
David
so
Wood and Norm, thank you. And I want to look at those debates too. And I'm a David Wood fan too, but you can't go against. I mean, you gotta have some. Man, if I was going to go against Andrew Wilson, that would be a month of preparation, and I'd just be fighting to draw.
No, he just looks. He looked bad at coming out of it. He looks bad. It's I mean,
Well,
I don't
see,
know.
I
Maybe
don't have
someone
the
better.
short-term memory anymore, Felix. Like here's the thing. Like there's a famous liturgist and historian, I think he's a music expert too, Dr. Kwininsky, Dr. K. And
Yeah.
my understanding is he only debates in writing now too. And I think that's kind of where I'd have to be, just because, if someone would ask me something, I'd be thinking about something, and then what would the video clip be? Oh, look, Mikkel's like, he's owned. He's looking at the space, it's like, no,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
right.
thinking, right? I'm old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, a total,
Yeah.
especially again, debate is a sport in itself, too. So there's technique,
Yeah, it's
there's
like a
strategy,
WWF
there's,
thing. When I
you know
was
what I mean?
younger,
So
I really enjoyed it. I used to debate with Father John Melnick. We would have what I called good fights, and I had a couple good ones. He won a few, and I won a few, and
yeah,
and I had some great stories about that I would have a good laugh over. But again, I just don't. Yeah, I just don't think it would. It doesn't serve, unless you're truly equal match. It doesn't serve your whomever you're representing. It doesn't serve to lose. And if you're truly friends or allied with the person you're debating, you really kind of want to fight to a draw. I mean, in the sense of, okay, well, you make sense given these premises, and I make sense given those premises, and we're going to agree to disagree.
yeah, 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 absolutely. All right, now let me see. Yeah, we're gonna kind of fly through these at this point. All right, so
I agree, Gene.
Yeah, Gene says the way things have been going, the sooner Jesus returns, the better. Yes,
Yep.
I get nervous getting into that mindset because I'm more the opposite. I'm like, like, God, please just give us like 5 more minutes. You know what I mean? Like, give us 5 more minutes. Um, but maybe Gene's right. I mean, who knows? Yeah, Father Higgins says I'm still here. I think when I asked, he said he was going to bed, and then he changed his mind.
He changed his mind.
1910s, 1920s. I don't know what that was
I
in
don't know what we
reference
referred
for.
to there.
Chronic insomnia is kicking my butt. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I wish I had the option to retire. I'll die in my office.
Yeah.
Another
Well,
tangent.
actually, you know what, Monsieur, before we go on that, I just want to say technically that's how we work too, but I'm going to be that's the only area I'm liberal. I'm changing that. That's because my predecessor, he went to that, and it just holds everybody else to a certain right. I mean, he
What
was
do
a
you
great
mean?
guy and he had his sharp
Oh yeah.
days. You just can't get anything done. You got to wait for a sharp day. So it's I'm not putting my clergy through that. So I know it's the tradition that you die in your office, but there's ways to do it. You can do it through a coadjutor, and you can do it to, I understand why you won't want necessarily be an emeritus, but and you're a young guy. You're a lot younger than me. You're not suffering from the mid 50s. Like if I'm this way in my mid 50s, what am I going to be at 70? Right. So I
Yeah.
think Monsignor's probably a fair bit younger than me, and he might feel like I do when he's my age. I don't know if I'm old enough to be your dad. I think you're Father Martin's age, and Father Martin likes to tease me. He says, my mom's only 2 years older than you.
Now, can I ask you something, Father? Like, it's because especially when you're saying about putting your clergy through that. When you went through it, don't you think even like hearing it secondhand from you, like when you said it before, I feel like you learned so much by going through that experience as it happened. Like that he wasn't there all the days, but you were
No,
witness
you're
to,
right.
like,
Because in
you know what I mean?
day-to-day function, I really was sort of doing my boss's job for the last, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years, whatever it was.
Yeah,
Because I had to, and he trusted me, and I knew that he would always, when I came to him, he would always agree. And
true.
it very rarely, every once in a while, he'd say, "What?" And and I tell him, "Oh, okay, I get it." So that's
Yeah,
what would happen. So every once in a while, he'd growl, but when I'd explained,
yeah,
so when you have that kind of trust and rapport, I was able to do a lot of his stuff cooperatively with him, and then just wait. I'd be down at least once a week to see him, and I would say, it went for many years. 3 out of 4 visits were good, and then only 2 out of 4, and then only 1 out of 4, and so that's when things sort of, but that's going to happen to all of us likely.
yeah. I'm skipping ahead. There weren't relevant. I think that we're talking to each other. Gene says it's a 5-volume set, and I think that's the
Oh,
meditations.
the meditations. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Father Haga says I'd give Mr. Keating a ring too. He's one who has knowledge in this area.
I'm trying to think what we were talking about.
I don't know,
Gnosticism?
but yeah, probably.
Okay.
I think so. The Tractarians and the Inklings, including Chesterton, did 99% of their debates via the newspapers. Was Chesterton?
Yeah, so that's
an
how I would
Inkling?
debate. Yeah, that's how I debate. And you know, because it would be in a public
Yeah,
format
he was
like
talking
that,
about Gnosticism.
what you'd
Sorry.
expect, what you'd expect with your, both sides. What you'd shop around your draft to your friends, and so it's kind of like, it would be like a, your work edited or augmented by the wisdom of others that are on your team. So it'd be almost de facto a team debate with the under the names of the captains. So yeah, and those things will generally they end up to a draw. Like I say, like almost all of our differences amongst Christians depend on certain premises that we can't really verify outside of God's direct information, right? So it's all about which authority you believe in. So at the end of the day, it's good to have those little arguments, but to help clarify stuff. But that's why I wonder. I don't know whether I'd lose to Andrew actually, because but it wouldn't be a fun debate, because it would be like we'd have to go back to a commonly accepted authority, and then we'd end up agreeing on almost everything. It would be a very boring debate.
It gets into because it would be a lot of establishing foundation stuff like that, and then it'd be so much. I would assume, maybe I'm wrong, but I would assume that there's a lot of overlap, right? Yeah, like you said, common ground, things that you would agree upon.
Yeah,
and then when you get to the meat of the disagreements, that's where it would get interesting, I guess. But then you were filioque and stuff,
Yeah, I mean, but those are not things we can know. Right. See the thing, that's why I'm saying, like, so all you really argue is that, okay, well, is there a tradition in the church that accepted that? And the answer is yes. Right.
Yeah.
So there's no question that the Greeks have or the Orthodox have a stronger argument as far as the purity of Nicaea. That's not disputed. But the problem is that does the Western Church, Rome, have the authority to allow I think it was in Spain that they were working against some holdouts in Arianism that basically understood that, put the filioque in there as a fight against Arianism. And I mean, no one disputes the fact that it was done. The dispute isn't whether it had the authority. And so ultimately, it comes back to the Orthodox versus the West's view of the Petrine office, right? So when you're looking at if it's all about whether Peter had the authority, that's the real question. Like, why are you fighting about the filioque when we don't know the inner workings of the Trinity? What the real fight's about is Petrine authority to determine the filioque was put in the creed, right?
Yeah.
So, and here's the weird thing, and a lot of things I actually would side with Andrew on, actually. So it's like my joke is I'm as Gallican as I can be without being a heretic. So my joke about that is I'm just saying, like, I reject the notion that a pope is a Dalai Lama, right? So a pope is a bishop with universal jurisdiction, and that and the Greeks dispute the universal jurisdiction part. We can agree to disagree on that. That is not that is, yes, it's important, but in an age of Pachamama, it's not the hill to die on.
Yeah, at least not yet.
Is not the hill to die on. There's so much other stuff that we can be together on, and down the road, hopefully God will let us know who's right and who's wrong on that.
Let's get rid of the Wiccans first, or at least let's fight the Wiccans off first. Let's fight the Pachamamas off first.
Yeah,
there's bigger fish to
fry. We don't need to agree on the filioque to have the social kingship of Christ the King.
Right. Now Norm said, we're coming to the end here. Norm says this is my very favorite podcast of Escaping McReligion. Thank you, Felix, and thank you, Father Michael. Have a wonderful night.
I didn't know it was one of the better ones.
Hey, maybe this was one of those that was made for Norm and for people like Norm, because I did kind of catch in the chat that he was like resonating with a lot of the stuff. So
Well, all I can say, guys, if you're watching on the replay, if you love it, put it in the comments. If you hate
Please.
it, put it in the comments.
Yeah,
So, and I'm going to try, Felix and I are going to try to be better at answering comments.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like, should we start earlier, you think, in the future?
No, my friend. No. I'm talking about in the replays.
In general.
So when they watch, most of our viewers do not watch live.
Right.
Most of
I have to get used to that.
If we get like 30 viewers online, like on live over an evening, because some come in and out, right? So say we get 30 viewers, it's a small channel. We can get up to like 200 viewers in replay, right? And then they leave comments or they don't. And then I'm horrible, notoriously horrible, never reading the comments.
Yeah, no, same here.
So I got to do that with my Substack too. I'm horrible. I mean, but the problem is I get busy. I know it's an excuse. I get busy, and I don't tend to them. But that's important because it's the community, and I should be listening to them, including the things that are negative.
Yeah. And again, it actually sharpens us up for that, and
sometimes there's suggestions of future episodes, right?
Yeah, 100%. Now, from what I see, we haven't had too many comments, at least unresponded. But this is pretty much the last one. I have Eastern Rite priest filling my inbox, especially from the Maronite, right?
Yeah,
the Maronite, right? What is that Marian? Is that like
that's mostly in Lebanon.
Understood.
Eastern Rite.
Okay.
And I guess most of them are married. The ones that are in parish work are generally married. And I imagine they're having some issues with Leo and the Francis Leo, as I call him, with the hyphen.
Oh, understood. And that's pretty much it. We actually, I did not expect us to go over as long as we did too.
Well, you know what, guys, we try to answer the comments as much as we can. It is funny. Like we did that with, like I say, we probably had 30 all told going in and out live. But if we ever actually get a large audience, we're going to have to figure out some way of curating them, because we're never going to be able to answer everything on air.
Yeah.
But it's a nice problem to have. We prefer a feisty comment section. Anyway, Felix, why don't we end with a prayer and head off?
Yes, Father.
Thank you, Archbishop. Okay, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, amen. Dear Lord, thank you for all your many benefits. We ask you to bless each of us, always inclining our hearts to your holy will. And may Almighty God bless us, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen. I hope you have a fantastic week. Thank you for those who waited right to the very end. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again next week. If you have an idea for next week's episode, stick that in there. I'm penciling it in that we're going to do something sort of, a positive answer. So we're going to probably take the encyclical that Leo wrote again, but instead of dumping on it, I'm going to give you a positive alternative rooted in tradition. So look forward to that, I hope, and come with your questions and your comments and your disagreements if you want. And may God bless you.
Bye, everybody.